Chapter 710. Lin Chen, who was in the box, took the ancient box with one hand. When he opened it, he couldn't help but touch the Dragon Glory battle saber. The saber trembled slightly and didn't resist. The blade, which was as clear as star jade, was engraved with ripple-like dragon patterns. It was as if the saber could reflect a dragon shadow and starlight with just a slight flip of the saber. "Don't worry. Follow me, Lin Chen, and your sharpness will definitely shine to the peak." Dripping blood to bind the saber, the Dragon Glory would replace the Nethermoon Heavenly Crystal and become Lin Chen's new main saber weapon. Lin Chen continued to watch the rest of the secret meeting. When he thought that there wouldn't be anything more attractive to him, an incomplete scroll appeared. The whole place was strangely silent. A treasure that could be placed at the end would definitely not be ordinary. At this moment, Lin Chen's heartbeat quietly sped up. Activating the golden eyes twin, he stared fixedly at the incomplete scroll. "Oh my god, I can even find this?" Xing Mei put away her charming face and said seriously. "This item was produced in the ancient ruins of the Blood Province 9,000 years ago. After many twists and turns, it has been studied by countless experts. After the appraisal of all the appraisers of the secret meeting and many other parties, this is a scroll that is incomplete to the point that it can't be cultivated. Moreover, it might be a mental cultivation method." Incomplete cultivation method? How could something like this be auctioned off? Some experts rarely questioned the accuracy and bottom line of the secret meeting. This kind of thing full of uncertain factors could be auctioned? Everyone, don't worry. Although this cultivation method is incomplete and can't be cultivated, it contains many secrets. Perhaps we can use it to find another part of the cultivation method. All of us appraisers have unanimously confirmed that this item is at least an item from the ancient times. Xing Mei's words made people surprised and suspicious. The ancient times was an era of saints, but in the historical records of the 9 regions, even the history of the end of the ancient times was very little. There were very few people who had experienced the ancient civilization. However, after we repeatedly appraised it, we found some clues that this item might be from the ancient times. It is very likely that it is a cultivation method above the purple rank. There is a high probability that it is a mental cultivation method. As soon as these words were spoken, it set off a heated discussion among countless powerhouses. Above the purple rank? Could it be the legendary orange rank? This kind of technique was completely extinct in the Jojo continent. It was impossible for it to exist. None of the ancient sages had ever come into contact with it, and there were no records of it being passed down. Moreover, if this was a mental cultivation technique, then it would be enough to make the entire 9 states go crazy. Sadly, it was incomplete and could not be cultivated. Towards this, the various experts revealed different attitude. Some snorted disdainfully, some were disdainful, and some sighed with surprise. Even if he bragged to the heavens, it was useless. Since it was incomplete and couldn't be cultivated, it was all bullshit. Moreover, this thing had changed hands so many times. How many top-notch experts had tested it? If it really had value, it wouldn't have been put up for auction. It was precisely because the Dark Society couldn't figure it out that this item was put up for auction. However, Lin Fan was overjoyed. The incomplete scroll in Xing Mei's hand was one of the missing parts of the Tai Sky manipulation technique, the advanced technique of his 9 calamities of creation. Phew, calm down. Calm down. If it's exposed now, the show will be over before it even starts. This unexpected surprise made Lin Chen so excited that he almost rushed up to snatch it. In the entire Dark Society, perhaps he was the only one who knew the value of that incomplete scroll. His top purple rank mental cultivation technique, 9 calamities of creation, was already strong enough to allow him to fight above his level and gave him many powerful heavenly calamity battle body. The Tai Sky manipulation technique, which was above it, was undoubtedly a real orange rank technique. Even the sages of the 9 states had never cultivated a technique of this level. The moment he saw through the incomplete scroll, Lin Chen almost prepared to snatch it. But he still held it in, because the highlight of the show that only belonged to him had yet to begin. If he snatched it, wouldn't he miss the show? However, even if it's a bid, I have to get the incomplete scroll of the Tai Sky manipulation technique first. Lin Chen touched the other 2 high-level spirit storage rings in his arms, and his eyes under the cloak bloomed with the determination to cut off all means of retreat. Then, the value of this technique is up to everyone to freely bid, but if the bidding price is not satisfactory to the seller has the right to return it. When Xing Mei talked about this, her eyes were basically looking at the 2 boxes of the True God family. From her point of view, only the people in the 2 private rooms had the qualifications to compete for this item. Although the top-notch experts of the 9 prefectures were unable to analyze the weight of this incomplete cultivation technique, the Lord True Gods behind them were different. I bid 7th rank. When everyone held their breaths, the old ancestor of the fake god family was trembling and excitedly bidding, but the young man's cold shout suddenly interrupted them. You guys King Snake Skin. Don't talk nonsense, I'll offer the head of a dragon clan leader. The young man's cold shout once again plunged the venue into a pin-drop silence. Another head of a dragon clan leader? You King still have it? Brother, do you think this is cabbage and red-skinned sweet potato from the roadside? You think you can take it just because you want it? What a joke. Clang. With a flick of his finger, a silver light streaked down, and the high-grade spirit storage ring opened, and a head that was 1,000 feet tall suddenly fell down. Bang! The head fell to the ground, and dust flew everywhere. Everyone held their breaths and looked at it carefully. This time, the dragon head was bright blue, and the blue dragon scales were like layers of beautiful art. The dragon's whiskers were blue, and the dragon's horns were clear, like gorgeous corals in the ocean. In the middle of the dragon head, there was still an immemorial dragon seal. Only a few of the top experts present knew that the dragon mark belonged to the clan leader of the dragon clan. It symbolized the highest authority of the entire clan, and only one dragon from each clan had it. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Those top powerhouses hiding in the dark all appeared, and they were the old ancestors of the secret assembly. It's actually Luoyu from the Heavenly Dragon Clan? Even he is dead? The top powerhouses in the secret assembly all took a few breaths of cold air. Among them, one of them had been defeated by Luoyu before, so it was impossible for them to be mistaken. All the powerhouses in the venue felt a chill from the soles of their feet to their hearts, and then to their scalps. Their whole body was numb, and the corners of their mouths were twitching. It was actually true. He really had the head of a dragon clan leader. What kind of concept was this? It was equivalent to him facing 2 great dragon clans. The combined strength of the 2 dragon clans was close to the combat power of a large province of the human race. Moreover, the dragon clan's foundation was incomparably strong. If the legendary Sacred Dragon Pond was activated, even a late 9th-level combat emperor would die without a doubt. Killing a dragon clan leader was basically an impossible dream. However, they were lucky enough to see the heads of 2 dragon clan leaders today. Killing 2 dragon clan leaders? Throughout history, no one except for the saints could do it. Chapter 711. This was 2F** King Scary. Just what kind of big shot was in this private room that had come to their secret meeting? Lu Qinyun, who was behind Xing Mei, was so scared that his legs went soft and he sat down on the table uncontrollably. Previously, he dared to say that he was extraordinary in front of Lin Chen. Now, it was like an ant shouting at a giant dragon. What he said is actually true. As expected of a VIP who can auction such a character. When did such a heaven-defying character appear in the 9 prefectures? This is an existence that can affect the entire situation of the 9 prefectures. Xing Mei was only slightly better than Lu Qinyun. She was also scared to the point that her legs went soft, but at least she didn't fall down. She stared at Lin Chen's private room with blurry eyes, revealing an almost fanatical admiration and worship. Private room number 1. He actually has the head of a second dragon patriarch, and it's Luo Yu of the Heavenly Imperial Dragon Clan. That's right, it's Luo Yu. Back then, my great-grandfather fought with an expert of their clan and his cultivation was severely injured. He only recovered after recuperating for thousands of years and is preparing to take revenge on them. The few black-robed men inside were completely stunned. They had heard of Luo Yu's strength. When he fought in an area rich in water energy, his strength could be said to be in the top 3 among the 10 patriarchs. Who is he? The beauty sitting in the corner was even more curious. Who exactly is the person in the private room? The many ancestors of the fake god families were a little flustered. How is this possible? Who on earth is he? There's actually such a character hidden in the 9 prefectures who killed 2 dragon clans consecutively. Could he be the 5th Tribulation Emperor that Lord True God mentioned before? Killing a dragon patriarch could be said to be an opportunity to assassinate, encircle, set up a trap, etc. But what if he could kill 2? That was the real deal of strength. Taking out the heads of 2 dragon patriarchs at the same time and from the same person? Without strength, it was impossible to do so. Should we give up? There's no other way. It's impossible for us to compete with him. However, we can try to feign civility with him and find out his origin. When the true ultimate god arrives, he will personally deal with him. After a quick discussion, the fake god family decided to give up. The second part of the Tai Sky Fu tactic was officially given to Lin Chen. Lin Chen had just obtained the remnant scroll when the system recorded it, and a screen popped up. The system has already recorded one of the remnant scrolls of the Tai Futian mantra. From the analysis of the latest remnant scroll, we learned that this mantra is divided into 5 scrolls. If you obtain 3 scrolls or more, you can cultivate it first. The host has already obtained 2 scrolls. F***ck. I still need 1 more scroll before I can start cultivating. F***ck. What the F***ck? Lin Chen was so angry that he almost wanted to hit someone. He thought that he would be able to come into contact with the legendary Orange Tier mental cultivation method after collecting this scroll. He didn't think that he would still be so F***king close. Forget it, sooner or later I'll find the complete set of this cultivation technique. A strange light flashed in Lin Chen's eyes, and then it disappeared into the depths of his pupils. Up until now, the auction of the Dark Assembly had lasted for almost a day and a night. As the seller and the buyer, the experts from all sides were hiding in their special black robes and competing with each other. At the same time, they also gained a lot. When Lin Chen thought that there would be no more items that would interest him, Bai Ruoyern's light and graceful voice suddenly came out from the snow-white jade slip in his arms. Brother Lin Chen, the scroll that is about to be auctioned is very useful to me. Can you help me bid for it? Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. A cultivation technique that was beneficial to Sister Ruoyan? He knew her character. If it wasn't something important, she wouldn't easily ask for his help. On the stage, Xing Mei Er's jade-like hand was holding a purple crystal jade that was filled with a pure flame spiritual crystal. Everyone, the highlight of the auction is here. There is a cultivation technique recorded in this crystal jade called Blazing Sky Skill. It was obtained by an ancestor of the underworld region in a meteorite. Preliminary examination shows that this item is not from the 9 regions, but from outside the 9 regions. Moreover, its grade is purple level top lower grade. It was sealed in this crystal jade by a powerful person and can only be used for one person's cultivation. It will be destroyed once it is used, so it is extremely precious. I don't need to say more about the preciousness of a cultivation technique of this grade, right? Xing Mei-er's words caused a huge commotion. There were only a few purple-level top lower-grade cultivation techniques in the 9 regions. In the Firmament Tower, there were only 2 scrolls of this grade of cultivation technique. The prices were above 70 million firmament dollars. One of the scrolls had already been bought by an expert, so there was only 1 scroll left. A complete top-grade cultivation technique was too rare. It was only inferior to the elixir refining emblems and some special spiritual secret manuals. It was almost as rare as a top-grade body movement technique. Many experts had rushed to the secret meeting after receiving the news that the cultivation technique was going to be auctioned. There were many who came for it. Compared to the above purple rank remnant scroll that the Dark Society had boasted about, this blazing flame soaring sky technique was the most genuine and precious treasure. Damn it, the news is true. Even if someone else had this treasure, they would not have the chance to auction it. This is the only chance. Just as the VIPs in the 6 purple rooms were ready to make a move, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's really it, it's right. The black-robed experts in private room number 1 immediately became excited. They had come for this very reason. The beauty in black robes sat in front of the window and stared at the purple crystal jade. She asked curiously, "Is this the thing that allowed the Ling family to be reborn?" Just as all the top powers were about to bid, Lin Chen's voice came from one of the purple rooms. "I want the head of a dragon clan leader. That's all." The entire place fell into a dead silence. Almost all the experts in black robes and cloaks turned around at the same time and stared at Lin Chen's room. Even though their faces could not be seen, their expressions must be very interesting. Perhaps there were even a few experts who looked at Lin Chen's room as if they had seen a ghost. A ray of light flashed through the void. It was the light of a high-level spirit receiving ring. Chi. The spirit receiving ring in the void opened, and a dragon head that was over 1,000 feet long fell into the venue. This time, the dragon head was as deep as the sea. The 2 dragon horns were as straight as spears, and the dragon whiskers were dense like the tentacles of the abyss. It was chilling. Countless experts sucked in a breath of cold air. The top experts of the secret meeting trembled all over, as if they had seen a ghost. Dark Frightening Demon. It's actually Dark Frightening Demon? It's him, the Dark Frightening Demon who massacred the 3 major families in the Blood State. He's the Dragon Clan leader of the Dark Shadow Sky, one of the top 3 dragon clans. My God, what's wrong with this world? Even Dark Frightening Demon was killed? Almost all the experts who participated in the secret meeting today had witnessed the most unbelievable, outrageous, and insane scene in the history of the 9 states. The heads of 3 dragon clan leaders were chopped off? This was an outcome that was impossible in any previous era. There was only one possibility for this scene to occur. Something King big happened to the dragon clan. Moreover, it was definitely an unprecedented change in the situation. Chapter 7:12. This caused the various experts to be extremely curious about this. What was the current situation of the Dragon Clan? As for the person in the purple stage private room, he was like a god that had descended from the heavens. What did he do to the Dragon Clan that caused 3 of their clan leaders to fall? Lin Feng calmly took a sip of his hot tea and smiled faintly. In this eerily silent atmosphere, a light laughter echoed throughout the hall. There are 3 things I don't care about when it comes to making friends. First, I don't care if he's cool or not. He's not as cool as me. Second, I don't care if he's handsome or not. He's not as handsome as me. Third, I don't care if he's cool or not. He's not as cool as me. You guys can bid as much as you want. I'm very boring. For someone like me, who is the most handsome person in the 9 prefectures, I've never used spirit crystals or pills. Vulgar. So vulgar that I don't even want to subscribe anymore. For someone as handsome as me, the starting price is the Dragon Clan leader. Don't call me if the price is lower than a Dragon Clan leader. Thank you, but I really don't care. Listen to that. Was that something a human would say? Using the dragon clan leader as a unit? What kind of god was that? Why didn't he brag to the heavens? But the problem was that he really wasn't bragging. The heads of the 3 clan leaders were like a knife hanging in everyone's heart. Who dared to question it? In the 9 prefectures, who could have the courage to kill the 3 clan leaders of the Dragon Clan? Even the legendary true god families in the Divine Prefecture couldn't do it. The whole room was strangely quiet. Countless experts were frantically guessing Lin Chen's identity. They racked their brains and used all their skills. When did such a crazy person appear in the 9 prefectures? He was domineering, arrogant, savage, extremely domineering, but his strength and background were completely proportional to his attitude. It was not an exaggeration to say that he could affect the situation of the entire 9 prefectures by himself. It was very dangerous for such a person to exist in the 9 prefectures. At least for most of the forces, it was extremely dangerous. In Private Room 1, the experts of the Ling family were all trembling. Their palms were trembling, and their minds were almost blank. He actually wants to bid for this item. What should we do? Do you want to bid? But even if our Ling family were to go bankrupt, it would be hard for us to take out something better than the Dark Shock Demon's head. Sigh, is it worth it to offend such a big shot for a cultivation technique? Seeing the elders and her father so conflicted, the young lady of the Ling clan sighed faintly. She stared at Lin Chen's box and muttered to herself. Who exactly are you? After weighing the pros and cons, the Ling family in VIP Room 1 ultimately chose to give up on the bid. However, they had not completely given up in their hearts. Perhaps after this, they would have a chance to discuss this matter with this mysterious powerhouse again. In the end, no one dared to bid for the Blazing Sky technique. Lin Chen directly crushed all the experts. Just based on the status and strength of the Umbra Sky Dragon Tribe leader, he was stronger than Mo Tianming and Luo Yu from before. The most important thing was that Lin Chen was in disguise as a character that brought about fear. He didn't dare to offend anyone, and he didn't dare to bid recklessly. Although the concealment of the dark meets black robes was rather good, how could someone who could kill 3 Dragon Tribe leaders and above be fooled by such a thing? Even the experts amongst them could see through the little concealment brought by the black robes, so how could he not see through each other's true identities? Could it be that they had to risk their lives to bid with this big shot? It wasn't worth it. Even if they couldn't befriend him, they definitely couldn't offend such a person. Everyone present was an old monster who had lived for countless years. Everyone could see clearly that they would rather give up than risk their lives for a cultivation technique. Even if they risked their lives, they had to be built on the possibility. If they offended this great god, there was no chance of survival. Even the experts from the various families who were hosting the dark meet looked at each other. They had to treat Lin Chen with the highest standards and vigilance. The purple crystal jade entered Lin Chen's box. The moment he received it, a beautiful woman's elegant voice entered his ears. "Thank you, little brother Lin Chen." Lin Chen transmitted his voice in a serious manner. "Sister Ruoyan, in terms of gifts, I prefer to be more practical." As soon as he finished speaking, the snow-white jade slip floated up from Lin Chen's chest. It touched Lin Chen's face lightly like a dragonfly touching the surface of the water. Then, it quickly returned to Lin Chen's chest. Lin Chen was stunned. And? What was this? At this time, Xing Main Er's charming eyes swept across Lin Chen's box. Then, she moved her white snake-like legs and pulled a cage covered in black cloth. The experts couldn't see the situation inside the cage. Xing Mei giggled. The next item up for auction is the finale of this secret meeting. It will definitely be out of everyone's expectations. But everyone, don't worry. This auction item is personally auctioned by the Lord in Box 7. He is the seller, so everyone can bid without worry. As soon as she said that, another wave rose. Many experts cast curious and surprised gazes. This was actually the finale item of the great god who had killed the 3 patriarchs? What was it? The fake god family's boxes became restless and excited. They seemed to have sensed a familiar aura. This auction item will definitely pique everyone's interest. Under everyone's gaze, Xing Mei pulled open the curtain of the cage. They saw that the cage was tightly bound with iron chains. A silver-robed young man was tied up in the cage. The handsome silver-robed young man was tied up in special chains. Not only did the chains bind his body, but even his battle chi was completely sealed. He couldn't even self-destruct. He sat quietly in the cage. His face was covered in blood, and his expression was cold. His eyes revealed a bit of coldness and sharpness. Instantly, everyone was shocked. Many experts suddenly stood up. It's really him, Lin Chen. In the fake god family's boxes, all the old ancestors and grand elders stood up. They were wild with joy. That's right. The finale of this dark meet was actually the auction of the handsome Lin Chen. Looking at Lin Chen in a daze, many experts were shocked and astonished. The final auction item was actually this living legend? Lin Chen's name was known to all the high-level combat emperors in the 9 prefectures. Fu Hun family, god-slaying mountain. He was so angry that he dared to challenge the 6 true god families for a woman. His actions had shaken the entire 9 prefectures. Even the 6 true god families couldn't stop him from leaving. How could such a legendary being, who might not necessarily become a supreme being, be reduced to an auction item? In box number 1, the young lady of the Ling family rushed to the window. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. She muttered to herself absent-mindedly, How could this be? How could he be the auction item of the dark meat? Suddenly, the young lady of the Ling family grabbed the robe of another father and begged with a sobbing tone, Father, I beg you. Please save Prince Lin Chen. Lin Chen said, You didn't expect it, right? I even show off myself when I'm flirting. Chapter 7:13. I'm sure all of you have heard of this handsome young master. But to prevent the news from being blocked, because some of you have been in seclusion cultivation for a long time, I have to mention that Mr. Lin Chen of the spiritual state is a famous figure in the 9 states. His deeds have spread all over the 9 states. After fighting against the 6 true god families alone, he retreated unscathed. Today, he is listed as an auction item in our secret gathering. This is a historic moment. How many secrets and fortuitous encounters would such a world-shaking existence have? No one knows. Only the buyer who wins the bid for Prince Lin Chen is qualified to know. Xing Mei-er's words stirred up endless waves. Is it really him? That legendary figure? Even Bai Ruoyan, who was in the snow-white jade slip in Lin Chen's arms, couldn't understand what this little guy wanted to do. Lin Chen is auctioning off Lin Chen? He is auctioning himself? It's really Lin Chen of the spiritual state. I thought I was wrong. Isn't this a little too ridiculous? How could he be caught? I was at the scene of the final battle. Even the 6 ancestral masters of the 6 true god families couldn't stop him. He even broke the family protection array of the 6 families by himself. This kid has such a battle record at such a young age. If he is allowed to grow, he will be another saint in the 9 states. It's too scary. He's so young, yet he's already grown to this extent. Just how many secrets does he have? Since he can fight against the 6 true god families, he must have some heaven-defying skills. From cultivation techniques to mental cultivation techniques to secret scrolls, it will be a heaven-defying opportunity if we can get even a little bit of it from him. Gasps could not help but come from all directions. This news was too shocking. It was as if one had just learned that a living legend had appeared out of nowhere and had achieved something that no one under the saint realm in the 9 states could achieve. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this legendary figure was unrivaled in the 9 states. But in the blink of an eye, he was auctioned off? What kind of scene was that? It was simply enough to turn a person's perception upside down by tens of thousands of times. Although Xing had told them about Lin Chen's deeds and caused the 5 fake god families to be dissatisfied, the final item of the auction was Lin Chen. This was enough to make them go bankrupt and buy him. Inside the meeting hall of the Dark Gathering, after an unprecedented shock, some experts were even more terrified. To be able to fight against the 6 fake god families by himself, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this kind of strength wasn't even in the 9 prefectures. As long as the Saint Realm did not appear, he would be invincible. But how could such a person be captured, and to be auctioned off? Some of the experts in the purple and blue stair rooms suddenly turned their gazes towards a certain room. If a young man like Lin Chen was said to be a god descending to the mortal world, a legend that overturned history, then the great god in the private room must be the ancestor of the god of heaven. To be able to capture such a person alive, just how terrifying was his true strength? No one dared to imagine. No wonder he was able to kill the patriarchs of the 3 dragon families. This is too abnormal. Even Lin Chen has become his auction item. This is too monstrous. Using the patriarchs of the dragon families as his auction item, it seems like he wasn't just bragging. Some of the old monsters who were hiding in the meeting hall sighed from the bottom of their hearts. In the 2 private rooms, the old ancestors of the fake god families squinted their eyes under their black cloak. When this young man fought against us last time, he used a secret technique that could increase his cultivation sharply. His true cultivation is actually around the 5th level combat emperor. If that secret technique couldn't be used too many times, it wouldn't be too difficult to capture this young man. I guess this person was able to capture this young man because he saw through this trick. However, to be able to kill the patriarchs of the 3 families, this kind of strength is enough to make us stop here. Let's bid. At all costs, we must bid for Lin Chen and hand him over to the true gods for them to decide. In the first private room, Father, let's save Prince Lin Chen, okay? The daughter of the Ling family held onto the Ling family's head with a sobbing tone. He couldn't help but sigh. Although the father and daughter often bickered, he knew this girl's temper well. Ever since she became an adult, she never told him even when she was bullied by some saints and saintesses. She always gritted her teeth and practiced hard to fight back with her stubbornness. She had never begged him in such a weak manner like this. You little girl, I do want to save him, but do you think I'm the only one who wants to bid? There are so many experts in this meeting hall. There are countless hidden dragons and crouching tigers. I can only promise you that I will try my best. Whether I can save him or not, it will depend on fate. The head of the Ling family patted his daughter's head and his heart softened. Thank you, Father. Daughter Ling nodded happily. The elders and old ancestors beside her smiled bitterly. However, if they could save this young man, it would be a great opportunity. With his potential, it was worth it for the Ling family to bet everything on him. The seller will personally guarantee this auction. As long as his seal is in place, this Prince Lin Chen can't even self-detonate. I guarantee that everyone can maximize their profits from him. Xing smiled meaningfully and then raised her hand. Now, let the auction begin. Everyone can make a bid. The seller has set a rule that there are no restrictions on any treasures. Everyone can make a bid. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a shout came from the private room of the fake god family. Everyone looked over. This old man has fought with Lin Chen before. This child has a very unique cloning technique that can make it difficult to differentiate between the real and the fake. This old man suspects that the child sitting in the cage is real. Is this the real body? As soon as he said that, there was another change. Unless I can verify it myself, I have the right to question the authenticity of this secret assembly. Xing expression changed slightly. No matter whether they questioned it or not, It would be a blow to the reputation of the secret assembly if other forces verified the authenticity of the auction items. No worries. This matter involves a lot of things. If you want to verify it, we can make an exception. Just then, a young man in a blood-red robe appeared on the stage and smiled lightly. He was one of the organizers, the Fong family's old ancestor. Mr. Fong, this, Xing Mei wanted to say something, but the Fong family's old ancestor raised his hand. Since we want to cooperate with them, why not make an exception? We have to show our sincerity. The Fong family's old ancestor sent a message to Xing Mei. Then, he cupped his fists in the direction of Lin Chen's private room. Mister, is there a problem? Everyone looked at Lin Chen's private room. If they don't verify it, then there must be something fishy. No worries. True gold fears no fire. Go ahead and verify it. Just don't ruin my goods. A casual voice was heard. The Fong family's old ancestor nodded. Seeing this, Xing Mei could only give up. The Fong family's old ancestor waved his hand and invited, "Come, please." Chapter 7:14. Boom. A shock wave exploded in the room, and an illusory figure appeared on the stage. He was wearing a black robe, and his face could not be seen. His withered palm reached into the cage and slashed at Lin Chen's calf like a blade. Rip! The battle aura split, and Lin Chen's calf split open, and blood flowed out. It's real! The black-robed man was shocked. He was an elder of the Hun family, and he had fought with Lin Chen before. He knew that if this kid's strange doppelganger was hit, the blood that flowed out would gradually disappear. At this moment, Lin Chen's blood had a tinge of gold in it, and it emitted a strong and hot blood chi energy. It was 100% real. It's really the real body. The black-robed man was shocked. When he looked at Lin Chen in the cage, his face was gloomy as if he wanted to kill someone. His deep eyes flashed with a thoughtful look, as if he was thinking about how to overcome the obstacle in front of him. It was completely the unruly Lin Chen. Verification complete. There's no problem. The black-robed man turned around and nodded at his own room to confirm. Just in case, Lin Chen had the Dragon Emperor possess the doppelganger to prevent himself from being exposed. In fact, the blood that flowed out of the doppelganger was the Dragon Emperor's blood. If it was a normal doppelganger, the blood would evaporate quickly. This was one of the few ways to determine the difference between Lin Chen's real body and his doppelganger. Since there's no problem, let's start the auction. Xing Mei, who was afraid that the atmosphere would turn cold, quickly said with a smile. The Fong family's elder cupped his fists at Lin Chen and the fake god family's room before retreating behind the scenes. I'll offer a top-notch low-grade purple-tier offensive battle skill, a piece of ancient dragon bone that contains the essence of energy, and a low-grade purple-tier elixir refinement handprint. As soon as Xing Mei finished speaking, someone immediately made a bid. Moreover, it was a powerhouse sitting in the hall, and not someone from the VIP room. The price that person made was suffocating. As expected, there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers. This person's price is enough to make even us tremble. Moreover, he doesn't even have a blue starebox. He's hidden very well. The atmosphere in the Ling family's private room was heavy. The young lady of the Ling family clenched her fists tightly. Patriarch, do you want to bid? Don't worry. There are probably a lot of people coveting Lin Chen this time. Let's wait and see. As soon as the voice in the private room fell, another voice came from the purple stair private room. A wind elemental top purple tier mental cultivation technique, 3 scrolls of top 7th tier pill formulas, and 2 top purple tier medicinal pills. Hiss. This price made many experts suck in a breath of cold air. He even took out the complete purple tier lower grade Heart Sutra. This was too crazy. This was simply a competition of wealth. Without a doubt, the various powers and those old monsters that lived in seclusion had completely started to stake everything they had for Lin Chen. A top purple tier mental cultivation technique and a middle purple tier alchemy handprint were of the same level of rarity. Within the 9 prefectures, the number of such mental cultivation techniques could be counted with 2 hands. This is crazy. These old guys are really going all out. It seems like the results are out of my expectations. Lin Chen, who was sitting in the private room, exclaimed in surprise. He had underestimated the craziness of these experts. However, his gaze swept across the private room of the fake god family. That was because these fellows had yet to start bidding. There were only a few bidders this time, but the price that each of them offered was enough to shake the 9 prefectures. The atmosphere in the secret meeting was close to madness. While everyone was holding their breaths, their hearts couldn't help but beat faster when they heard the bids. At this moment, the Ling family from the private room finally made their move. We offer a middle purple tier lower grade alchemy handprint, 2 top purple tier lower grade offensive battle techniques, 3 top 7th tier lower grade medicinal pills, and 1 top 7th tier lower grade medicinal pill formulas. Wow! The secret meeting room was in an uproar. Xing Main Er's red lips trembled a few times, and her beautiful eyes sparkled. Even the old ancestors of the host families who were stationed in the meeting room couldn't help but tremble a few times. That private room seems to belong to the Ling family from the Cloud State, right? This is crazy. These fellows even took out a middle purple tier alchemy handprint and 2 top purple tier battle techniques? He's putting his entire family on the line. These fellows are crazy. In the private room Ling Rushua looked at her father with surprise and gratitude. Lass, you have never looked at your father like this in the 10 years since you became an adult. The Ling family head couldn't help but sigh. However, don't be happy for too long. Even if we bet our entire family, they might not choose us. Just as the Ling family head finished speaking, as expected, a sonorous and powerful voice came from the other purple staircase private room. A top 7th tier middle grade sword, the famous sword Meridian. There's also a top grade low grade purple ranked sword manual, 7 stars Meridian, 8000 top grade 7th grade and above top grade heavenly and earthly treasures, a scroll of top grade mid grade pill formulas, and a top grade mid grade 7th grade pill. Once this price was announced, it immediately suppressed the Ling family. All the experts in the meeting room were excited. A top 7th tier middle grade sword. There weren't many of them in the entire 9 states. Only 3 were publicly traded in the Cloud State. It's actually the sword of the ancient Sun Sword Saint's chief disciple from 300,000 years ago, the sword Meridian? Damn it, crazy, all of them are crazy. They can even take out a top 7th tier middle grade medicinal pill? For the sake of one Lin Chen, these old monsters were almost crazy. The reason was very simple. For experts who had cultivated to their level, ordinary opportunities could no longer help them improve. Although the treasures they used for bidding were top grade, the improvement they could bring to themselves was negligible. Only some heaven-defying opportunities could allow them to improve further. Obviously, they had their eyes on Lin Chen and would definitely think that this child had the opportunity and secret they wanted. As long as they could pry open his mouth, it might be a good opportunity. When a person was stuck at a bottleneck for tens of thousands of years, if they could finally see a glimmer of hope to advance, they would fight with everything they had, even their lives. The people from the Ling family in Box 1 sighed deeply and sat down helplessly. If it was only based on the foundation of a family or force, there were really no 2 forces present that could compare to the Ling family. However, the bidder must be a combination of several forces to be able to come up with such a price. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a single force to come up with so many top-grade treasures. Ling Rushua was in a daze as she stared at the youth in the cell. No one knew what she was thinking. Just when everyone thought the outcome was over, a low and hoarse voice transmission sounded from one of the 2 rooms of the fake god family. 1 top purple tier middle grade and 1 middle grade alchemy handprint. A total of 2 sets of alchemy handprint. In addition, 2 top purple-tier lower-grade mental cultivation techniques, 2 top 7th-tier middle-grade medicinal pills, and 1 top lower-grade offensive combat skill. Crazy! They must be F***king crazy. Top purple-tier middle-grade and middle-grade alchemy handprints of this level? And 2 of them at once? And 2 top purple-tier complete mental cultivation techniques. Chapter 7:15. It must be noted that only Donjo still had some high-level purple-level alchemy handprints and medium-level high-level purple-level handprints, which could rank among the top 5 in the 9 states. Not to mention the value of the other items. It was incomparable. The price from the fake god family's private room shocked the audience. In fact, the 5 great clans had already taken out all of their savings at this price. The 5 pseudo-divinity clans had brought out all of their trump cards. After all, the true gods behind them hated Lin Chen the most. Now that they had a chance to buy Lin Chen's life, they would do anything to get it. At this moment, the person who had bid for the Meridian sword said this. "You guys are ruthless." Lin Chen shook his head and chuckled. He didn't even have an intermediate-level purple-level alchemy handprint, but these guys had offered 2 at once. They were out of their minds. These guys want to kill me even in their dreams. On the stage, Xing Mei breathed rapidly in excitement, and her full breasts undulated as if they were going to burst her clothes. Finally, she forced herself to calm down and said loudly, "Then, the winner of the Lin Chen of the spiritual state is... Wait a minute." At this moment, Lin Chen's casual voice sounded. He had disguised his voice so that the fake god family didn't recognize him. "I remember that we can choose to bid, right?" Hearing Lin Chen's question, Xing Mei froze for a second and then nodded immediately. "Yes, just as you said. The seller has the right to choose to bid. If they don't choose, they will default to the highest bidder." When Lin Chen raised this question, it immediately caused the hearts of the powerhouses who were bidding earlier to thump. Could it be? The Ling family's patriarch looked excited. The fake god family members held their breath. How could there be a change at this critical moment? However, almost everyone thought that the final bid from the true god family would completely crush the previous one. If they didn't choose the final bid, they would suffer a great loss. "I choose the previous bid." As soon as these words were spoken, many experts were stunned. How could they choose like this? Although the famous sword Meridian and its sword manual were at the top of the continent, they would suffer a great loss. The latter had 2 top-level alchemy handprints and 2 top-level mental cultivation techniques, which could completely crush the former. Are you sure?" Xing Mei broke out in cold sweat. How could there be such an idiot in the world? Why would he choose the worst one? But how could a person who could kill the 3 dragon clan masters be a fool? The previous bidder was wild with joy. Who would have thought that this godly person would change his mind at this critical moment? "Sir, are you serious?" A few voices of doubt came from the box of the fake god family. Many powerful warriors were puzzled. F***CKU. Do I need you to question my actions? Lin Chen cursed. The fake god family members were so shocked that they didn't dare to say anything. In the end, the owner of the handsome Lin Chen was decided. The seller obtained the famous sword Meridian, the 7 stars Meridian sword manual, 8,000 kinds of top-level 7th level and above heavenly treasures, a scroll of top-level 7th level middle-grade pill formula, and the Aurora pill, a top-level 7th level middle-grade pill formula. After this auction, Lin Chen's harvest was extremely rich. The famous saber Dragon Glory, the famous sword Meridian, the high-grade sword manual, the sealing crystal jade for Bai Ruoyan, and the remnant of the Tai Futian technique. Humph! The ancestors of the fake god family left in a huff. They were even a little exasperated. They had shown the wealth of the 5 great families, but it still didn't move the other party? "Ancestor, what should we do?" Seeing Lin Chen being taken away, the elders who left anxiously asked. He was the great true god's target. "Don't worry. We have our own ways. If we can't snatch it openly, we will do it secretly. A ruthless killing intent flashed in the eyes of the ancestors. After all, they had already started to cooperate with the Dark Assembly. Naturally, they could investigate the other party's background. The moment the handsome guy was taken away, the Dark Assembly came to a perfect end. Everyone went to the back of the Dark Assembly to pay the processing fee. On the way out, they were full of sighs. This time's Dark Assembly was more terrifying and crazy than any of the previous ones. The head of the Dragon Clan's patriarch and the legendary young man were auctioned off. Lin Chen was naturally not a fool. He didn't choose the fake god family's auction because he had his own plans. The rules of the Dark Assembly stipulated that any auction must be done face to face. Therefore, the bidders must personally carry the treasures they bid for. In other words, the fake god family still carried the top-level treasures they bid for. Lackeys of the fake god family, after this, I will bring your favorite 5-blow thunderstruck to you. Lin Chen laughed evilly. You want to slip away when the meat is already in your mouth? He will definitely become the king of robbers. Lin Chen stood up and pushed the door open. He strolled in the exclusive passage of the purple stage private room. On the other side, Ling Rushua rushed out of the private room without saying anything. Bang! The door of the purple stage private room was knocked open. When Lin Chen heard this, he narrowed his eyes and slightly activated his battle chi and mental energy to investigate. On the other side, Ling family head quickly stopped his daughter. What are you doing? Saving him. Ling Rushua clenched her teeth under the black robe. Save your ass. Are you trying to anger me to death? You are courting death. Ling family head cursed loudly. He knew this girl's character too well. She would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. I don't care. I must save him. There will no longer be a man like Lin Chen in the 9 prefectures. He cannot die here. Ling Rushua's attitude was firm. Her words were eavesdropped by Lin Chen, who was using his mental energy in the passage next door. He was stunned for a moment. The Ling family head patted Ling Rushua's shoulder, and a spiral battle chi that resembled a mystical dragon entered her body, sealing her cultivation completely. Father, you? Ling Rushua was shocked. Ling family head shook his head. Don't struggle. Letting you join the secret meeting is already the biggest concession. If I let you do whatever you want, you will definitely want to save that brat. Father! Ling Rushua struggled with tears in her eyes. Ling family head sighed. Don't worry. If I watch that brat die, you will definitely throw a tantrum with me. Your father will try his best, but don't get your hopes up. Ling family head was broad-minded and far-sighted. Saving Lin Chen was not only for his daughter. This brat's potential was worth their Ling family taking a risk. The elders and ancestors behind him exchanged glances and reached an agreement. I didn't expect that someone would be willing to help me even though I am standing on the opposite side of the fake god family. Interesting. Lin Chen, who successfully eavesdropped, touched his chin and shook his head with a smile. Brother Lin Chen, you are very charming. Bai Ruoyon's chuckle came from the snow-white jade slip. Lin Chen shrugged and spread out his hands. Can't help it. 9 prefectures is the most handsome. I don't want to be like this. It is very boring. An undercurrent surging battle quietly unfolded. Chapter 7:16. Lin Chen, who had returned to the Brightsword Merchant Group, was not in a hurry to act. Although his doppelganger had been taken away, the other party did not have time to interrogate him. At this moment, the experts from various states had begun to leave the Dark Society, leaving through a specific spatial tunnel. In the merchant group's secret chamber, Lin Chen was sitting cross-legged. When he opened his eyes, a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. Oh, I didn't expect that they would be from the blood state. Lin Chen clearly sensed that his doppelganger had been taken into the spatial tunnel to the blood state. Lin Chen immediately activated the 9 tribulations eye, and a 9-colored pupil bloomed above his head. Since the transformation of the 9 heavenly tribulation battle bodies, his 9 tribulations I had undergone earth-shaking changes. Even a 9th realm combat emperor could peek into the general trend of fate. Through the 9 tribulations Lin Chen vaguely sensed that a group of experts from the fake god family was crazily rushing into the spatial tunnel to the blood state. Obviously, they knew the identity of the buyer. Then, a large number of experts from the Dark Society were dispatched. Oh, these fellows actually dared to join forces with the fake god families to fight against each other? If this is exposed, the reputation of the Dark Society will be ruined. Lin Chen frowned. He did not expect that the Dark Society would really join forces with the fake god family. It would be impossible to organize an auction of this scale if one did not have a certain level of credibility. However, the experts of the Dark Society were willing to risk losing the reputation of the organization. Could it be that the fake god family's offer was more important than the future of the Dark Society? Lin Chen had a bad premonition. These top experts would not act until they saw the hair. Since they dared to act so decisively to help the fake god family, it meant that they had already thrown out a heavy bargaining chip. After this operation, I must go to the Firmament Tower to find the Dean's Saint bloodline. I have a bad feeling. Lin Chen was just about to stand up when a peerlessly beautiful snow-white figure appeared from the snow-white jade slip. Sister Ruoyan, why did you come out?" Lin Chen was stunned. She smiled sweetly and stretched out her delicate hand. "Give me the purple crystal jade first." Only now did Lin Chen remember that he had bid for the blazing flame soaring sky technique crystal jade. He immediately took out the purple crystal jade and handed it to her. With Bai Ruoyan's experience, this purple crystal jade was definitely not as simple as it appeared on the surface. However, according to the detection of Lin Chen's golden eyes twin, other than a few special lines on the surface of the purple crystal jade, only the thumb-size blood marrow in the center was left. The blood marrow within this purple crystal jade contained the cultivation memories of the blazing flame soaring sky technique. By breaking the crystal jade, one would be able to obtain the cultivation memories of this technique. This purple crystal does indeed have a mental cultivation method sealed within. However, it's not one type, but 2 types. Bai Ruoyan, who had received the purple crystal, chuckled softly. A milky white flame swirled around her fingertip, condensing into a blade as she gently sliced off the purple crystal. The purple crystal shards that had been cut off floated in the air. Bai Ruoyan's movements were very light, and each cut was just right. Lin Chen stared intently at Bai Ruoyan's movements as well as the purple crystal shards that had been cut off. With his eyesight, he had already sensed that the mystery of this purple crystal jade did not lie in the blood marrow in the center, but in the outer crystal jade. In the end, the outer layer of the purple crystal shards that Bai Ruoyan had cut off was directly thrown away, leaving the middle layer perfectly intact. The innermost layer was not touched, and the cultivation memories of the technique were not activated either. She opened her slender hands, and a milky white flame lit up in her delicate palms. It lit up the entire secret chamber and quietly burned the dozens of shards. During this entire process, Lin Chen did not speak at all. He was completely focused. Under the burning of the eternal sacred fire, the dozens of purple crystal shards started to spin and melt. After nearly half an hour, when the shards had completely melted, there was a sizzling sound. The purple crystal shards made a sizzling sound, and then they shone with a dazzling purple light. Boom! The light trembled and a sudden change occurred. It actually started to turn from purple to orange. Suddenly, Lin Chen, who had been continuously activating the golden eyes twin, had a change in expression. He had sensed a terrifying and mysterious energy erupting from the burning purple light. Not good! Without another word, Lin Chen shook the void with both hands. Slow rune. Shwa. The grayish-white rune flashed, and then it exploded in the secret chamber. It directly consumed 3 million runes of energy from Lin Chen's runes. His fingertips moved the void, and Lin Chen activated a spatial seal with lightning speed. Streaks of dragon chi crisscrossed, forming the deep azure dragon domain to suppress the void. Then, he sent out a palm strike with dark battle chi. Lin Chen's dark battle chi absorbed most of the explosive energy, and the rest was suppressed by the deep azure dragon domain. Only then did he heave a heavy sigh of relief. If this aura had exploded, it would have alarmed the entire Qinqing. At that time, it might have caused an unprecedented bloody storm. "Are you all right?" Bai Ruoyan apologetically helped Lin Chen up. She had not expected this last step, and it was already too late. Fortunately, Lin Chen had reacted quickly. "It's fine. Let's see what it is first." Lin Chen shook his head. When the two raised their heads to look at the void, they saw a sea of runes and countless crisscrossing meridian routes, flowing with a dazzling orange light. It was dazzling, and faintly emitted the aura of an ancient civilization. This is a mental cultivation method. It's a mental cultivation method. Lin Chen was dumbfounded. He had never seen such a profound mental cultivation method. Perhaps only his 9 tribulations of Genesis could be compared to it. In terms of subtlety, the 9 tribulations of Genesis had its own uniqueness. However, in terms of rank, the mental cultivation method in front of him was definitely countless times better. The Divine Flame Mental Sutra Cultivation Method. This is an orange rank mental cultivation method? Bai Ruoyan was stunned. Although the eternal sacred fire in her body had sensed the existence of this mental cultivation method, it did not expect it to be an orange rank mental cultivation method that had never existed in the history of the 9 states. Moreover, it was a mental cultivation method. Oh my God, this is heaven-defying! Lin Chen swallowed his saliva. The tip of his heart trembled, and the corner of his mouth trembled. In the 9 states, a top-notch purple rank mental cultivation method was already the highest level. A top-notch purple rank mental cultivation method was almost extinct. What was the concept of an orange rank mental cultivation method? It could be said that an orange rank combat skill alone was already extinct in the 9 states, becoming a great song in the history of the 9 states. An orange rank mental cultivation method? Lin Chen believed that even if it was placed in the legendary sacred boundary, it would definitely cause a huge earthquake. Just based on the fact that the emissary of the sacred boundary did not have a single top-notch purple rank mental cultivation method, it could be seen that this level was definitely a legendary level even in the sacred boundary. If Lin Chen had not stopped this divine flame mental sutra from appearing, there was no doubt that the entire 9 states would be in an uproar, and an unprecedented war would be set off. Even in the ancient times, it was enough to set off a war between saints. The appearance of an orange rank mental cultivation method could cause all the experts to go crazy. This storm was enough to destroy all the human civilization in the 9 states. Even in the ancient times of the 9 states, when the 100 saints were born, there was no orange rank mental cultivation method in the world, let alone the rarest mental cultivation method. Chapter 717. Lin Chen's 9 Calamities of Creation was only a top purple rank technique. If he could collect heaven-defying elemental attributes, he might be able to surpass the limit. However, its current grade was definitely not comparable to the Godly Flame Heart Sutra. "Brother Lin Chen, I'll give it to you." Bai Ruoyan wanted to say something. "No. Sister Ruoyan, this is your opportunity." "I can't take it," Lin Chen said solemnly. Indeed, with the Fire Calamity battle body, he had the prerequisites to cultivate this Heart Sutra. Moreover, his battle strength would definitely soar to a whole new level. However, this meant that he would have to give up the other 8 Calamity battle bodies and the Heart Sutra of the 9 Calamities of Creation. He would have to give up the elemental attributes he had previously obtained. If he didn't have battle chi of the same attribute, he would have to pay a huge price to replace the Heart Sutra of a different attribute. If Lin Chun gave up the Heart Sutra now, his cultivation would definitely plummet and he would lose the other 8 elemental attribute. Lin Chun was very clear about the potential and battle strength of the Heart Sutra of the 9 calamities of creation. From the looks of it now, it might be able to soar temporarily. However, after he collected the complete Tai fusing sky technique, this might not be the case. No matter how difficult it is to collect the Tai fusing sky technique, as the advanced Heart Sutra of the 9 calamities of creation, I must obtain it. It's not very wise to change the Heart Sutra now. Most importantly, Lin Chun knew that this was by Ruoyan's fortuitous encounter. Even his golden eyes twin couldn't see through the mystery of this purple crystal. This proved that this Heart Sutra was perfectly suited for by Ruoyan. Moreover, this cultivation memory could only be passed on to one person. Bai Ruoyan also had the eternal sacred fire in her body. She could unleash this legendary orange rank Heart Sutra to the extreme. Sister Ruoyan, I know you're doing this for my own good. However, this Heart Sutra is more suitable for you. Moreover, I have an even more important choice. After Lin Chun confirmed that the space in the secret room was completely sealed, he took out the remnant of the Tai fusing sky technique and smiled. This is also a remnant mental cultivation technique of the orange tier and above. I have already collected 2 scrolls. As long as I can find one more, I will also have an orange tier mental cultivation technique. Moreover, it will be completely suitable for me. Therefore, Sister Ruoyan, please accept it. Lin Chun knew Sister Ruoyan's personality. If he didn't come clean and tell her that he had a better choice, she would definitely reject him. Seeing her little brother Lin Chen's persistence, Bai Ruoyan helplessly shook her head. All right, I'll believe you this time. Bai Ruoyan flicked her sleeve, and 10,000 rays of orange light surged into her forehead. All the cultivation memories of the mental cultivation method were stored in her mental bridge, and she could refine them and cultivate them at any time. Ah, looks like we've struck gold this time. If the seller knew about this, would he die of anger on the spot? Lin Chun laughed heartily. Although the price of the head of the Dragon Clan Patriarch was extremely high, and the seller could make more money by reselling it than in the secret auction, it was clear that he, Lin Chun, was the one who made the most money this time. That was an orange tier mental cultivation method. It was a treasure even rarer than an orange tier combat skill. Even if Lin Chun sold all his assets, he might not be able to afford even half a move of the orange tier combat skill. Bai Ruoyan covered her mouth and chuckled. No one wouldn't be moved by the opportunity of obtaining an orange tier mental cultivation method. In the future, Bai Ruoyan's potential might be even more terrifying than Lin Chen's. Let's go and slaughter those guys from the fake god family. This time, I want a perfect ending. Okay. Bai Ruoyan turned into a snow-white jade slip and quietly entered Lin Chen's bosom. Lin Chun put on his black robe and headed toward the main hall of the spatial passage alone. When he entered, he encountered a group of people from the Ling family, who hurriedly entered as well. Regardless of their motives, Lin Chun was touched when he saw that these experts whom he didn't know were willing to risk their lives to save him. He quickly followed them and stepped into the spatial passage of the blood state. On the other side, while Lin Chun was participating in the secret auction, unprecedented changes occurred in the sky state and the spirit state. To be precise, it was the Sky Song Academy. In a cold jade pavilion in the Sky State Branch Academy, Ling Yueqi, who had fallen into a coma, was lying quietly on an ice jade bed. A beautiful lady in a blue dress slowly walked in the pavilion filled with cold air and sized up Ling Yueqi. The lady in the blue dress stretched out her jade-like finger and gently touched Ling Yueqi's hair. An astonishing cold air emerged and condensed into ice crystals that could even freeze battle chi. How mysterious! It's actually the legendary 9 absolute cold meridians. It was activated because she was seriously injured. It's a waste for someone with such a constitution to stay in the 9 states. If she came to my Ice Heart Palace, she would definitely be a genius on the Demon Genius list. The lady clicked her tongue in wonder. If Lin Chen saw this scene, he might be shocked speechless. At this moment, Ling Yueqi was like an ice prison. Her body was constantly releasing cold air that could freeze the world. This chill was enough to easily freeze a Yuan venerate into an ice sculpture. Even a combat emperor couldn't be underestimated. Bang! The giant door of the secret chamber was shattered and 3 combat emperor mentors and elders barged in. Su Lan and Su Lan were completely speechless. Their bodies were frozen by a mysterious cold energy. Who is this woman? She didn't even disturb the space barrier and directly barged into the secret chamber. While the 2 mentors were surprised, the leading elder suddenly shouted coldly, "Your Excellency has barged into my Sky Song Academy. Could it be that you want to start a war?" The lady in the blue dress smiled slightly and pointed her slender jade-like finger at the void. Like a wisp of winter wind, it was biting cold but not cold. It froze the 3 combat emperors in place, and they couldn't even circulate their battle chi. The 3 combat emperors were shocked. Even 7th-layer combat emperors couldn't imprison the 3 of them in one move. Everyone has misunderstood. This young lady came here to make friends with Your Excellency Lin Chen. Our Ice Heart Palace came uninvited, and we don't have any malicious intentions. We just want to help his friends. The lady in the blue dress flicked her sleeve, and Ling Yueqi disappeared along with Su Lan and Su Lan. The 3 combat emperors' faces changed slightly. Ling Yueqi and the twins had a close relationship with Lin Chen. If he knew about this, wouldn't he tear the sky apart? Please tell Your Excellency Lin Chen that if he can reach the sacred boundary alive, our Ice Heart Palace will be waiting for him at the sacred boundary. If he can't reach the sacred boundary alive, we will take good care of his friends and nurture them well. The lady in the blue dress turned into a wisp of icy smoke and disappeared. The 3 combat emperors' battle chi seals were gradually released. When they could move again, the lady had already disappeared. The 3 combat emperors' expressions were extremely solemn. On the west side of the branch, a purple light pavilion suddenly became chaotic. Not good. Young Lady Yun Manqing has disappeared. What's going on? The space barrier hasn't been touched. Hey, look, there's a note in the secret chamber. The mentors opened the scroll and saw Yun Manqing's handwriting on it. Dear mentors and elders, Manqing has left with Senior Wan at the Sacred Boundaries Mythical Flame Palace. She knows that her injuries are not light and it is difficult to find a way to heal them in the 9 continents. Fortunately, she was recognized by Senior Wan and has left for the Sacred Boundaries Mythical Flame Palace. Dear elders, please tell Lin that Manqing has left for the sacred boundary and is waiting for his arrival. Chapter 7:18. Outside Tianzhou, in the Great Yin Canyon. Today, everyone from Class 66 had teamed up to carry out an extremely difficult Purple Master-level mission, with Bai Juanhao leading the team. However, halfway through the mission in the canyon, the mission was suddenly interrupted. Bai Juanhao, Ying Liang, Yu Linlin, Lu Lin Han Yiji, and the rest of the people from Class 66 had serious looks on their faces. They were still in the gloomy Great Yin Canyon a moment ago, and now they were in this green valley full of birds and fragrant flowers. An old man and a young man sat by the riverside, playing chess and chatting happily. Hello, young people. We are from the Sacred Boundary. I've come this time to take you to the Saints' world and join our sect. Are you interested? The moment the white-robed old man spoke, everyone was stunned. Sacred Boundary? This kind of term that only existed in ancient history books had actually appeared in front of their eyes. Bai Juanhao was still somewhat convinced of this. He had seen the methods of the war emperors before. Even the former Crimson Empress was a far cry from these two. Seniors, why did you choose us? Yu Linlin and Han Yizhi asked in unison. After more than a year of experience and transformation, coupled with the support of the Academy, their talents were indeed top-notch in the 9 State. However, there was still a gap between them and the top prodigies. If they were really powerful cultivators from the sacred boundary, why were they the ones chosen to join the sect? Because you are Lin Chen's companions. We came this time for Lin Chen, but his character is unyielding, so we can only gamble on you. If you come to the sacred boundary, we will train you according to the standards of a top-notch disciple. Little guys, you should understand what I mean. The two smiled meaningfully, and everyone immediately understood. The other party did not come to find them purely for them, but more to use their relationship to rope in Lin Chen. Yes, these little guys are extremely tenacious and stubborn. They are not ordinary people. Among them, there is also the ethereal constitution and the azure dragon bloodline. With a little training, they will at least have a chance to enter the genius ranking. After understanding everyone's talents, the young man with the sword was amazed, but he did not show it on his face. What do you think, little guys? You only have one chance, so cherish it. If you refuse, we will send you back to your original position. We will not force you. However, with Lin Chen's talent, it's only a matter of time before he reaches the sacred boundary if he doesn't die. Considering your friendship with him, are you willing to stay in the spiritual state without being able to see his back? In the sacred boundary, if you stand out, you can even receive guidance from the saints. Once you soar into the sky, you can once again become someone who stands by Lin Chen's side, right? Everyone fell silent. Go? That was to hand one's fate over to others. If he didn't go, this might be the most important opportunity in his life. It was the same for the two of them. If they dared to have any thoughts about these little fellows, that Lin Chen kid would not let them off the moment he arrived at the sacred boundary. Judging from the fact that he dared to wreak havoc in the divine land, this person was born to be fearless. They weren't stupid enough to make such an enemy for their own sect. Everyone in Class 66 began to make their choice. Become a disciple? Ning Qingxian sat quietly in the pavilion, her beautiful eyes filled with curiosity as she sized up the white-haired old man. Yes, in the innumerable green palace of the sacred boundary, you will receive the best training. The white-haired old man, who had always been calm and indifferent to worldly affairs, stared at Ning Qingxian, and for the first time, he showed some emotion. During the battle in the Divine Land, he didn't realize this girl's talent. Now that she was rescued by Lin Chen, her mind was clear and bright. She was elegant and refined, and her heart was as clear as a mirror. She was most suitable for the innumerable green palaces Sutra Heart Sutra Codex. The inheritance of this secret codex didn't focus on talent. Instead, it focused on the cultivator's state of mind. Those whose heart was as clear as a mirror could cultivate this codex at a rapid pace. Those who had a murderous nature and were eager for quick success would not be able to enter the sect no matter how talented they were. Therefore, the white-haired old man valued Ning Qingxian a lot. Due to the uniqueness of the innumerable green palaces Sutra Heart Sutra, there were very few true disciples. Qingxian, watch out! Her father, Ning Xingling, stood in front of his daughter, his eyes sharp. Sister Qingxian finally regained her freedom. Why are you disturbing her again? Ning Qingxue scolded and protected her sister. Father Qingxue, you have misunderstood. This old man doesn't mean any harm. Ning Qingxian said hurriedly. The white-haired old man's eyes flashed with praise. Since a Yuan Venerate could sense the true intentions of a 9th-level combat emperor, this girl might be more suitable than any other true disciple to inherit the Sutra Heart Sutra. Qingxian, if a combat emperor wanted to hide his murderous intent, how could you see through it? Ning Xingling was very vigilant. The old man in front of him was actually able to bypass the Sky Song Academy's investigation and arrive here. His strength was extraordinary. His two daughters had finally regained their freedom, so he couldn't let them suffer the fate of being imprisoned again. Little girl, what do you think freedom is? Do you think you're free now? Suddenly, the white-haired old man smiled meaningfully at Ning Qingxian while stroking his beard. Freedom means that one's body and mind are under one's control and one's fate is not bound. Ning Qingxian explained concisely. The white-haired old man smiled and said, "You only understand freedom on the surface, but you don't see its essence. Lin Chen, who saved you in the past, is the one who has truly seen the essence of freedom." Ning Qingshuan's brows curved as she bowed respectfully and humbly asked for guidance. "Senior, please enlighten me." The white-haired old man turned to look at the sky with a deep gaze. Freedom means that everything in the world is under one's control. A frog at the bottom of a well cannot tolerate the heart of the world. If your family's fate is taken away, are you free? If the person you love is killed, are you free? If the power to destroy everything descends, you can only wait obediently for everything you cherish to disappear. Are you free? The white-haired old man asked 3 questions in a row. Ning Qingxian fell into deep thought for a long time before answering. "Senior, as you said, freedom should be something one strives for and not given by others. Those who blindly entrust their fate to others or to the heavens are merely frogs at the bottom of a well. The weak have no right to talk about freedom." The white-haired old man smiled and nodded. "That's right. Senior, are you saying this to persuade me to become a disciple? It's a little interesting, but it's all from the bottom of my heart." Ning Qingxian remained silent. Ning Qingxue and Ning Xingling looked a little anxious. "The fate of being pitted by others is not what I want. Senior, I am willing to follow you to the sacred boundary. However, please let me stay with my family for a little while longer." The same scene played out continuously. Han Ziyun, Murong Qingxue, Luo Qingyu, Yan Qianyun, Yang Qing'er, Class 66. Those who had a past with Lin Chen were invited by the emissary from the sacred boundary. Everything gathered at the sacred boundary and met again at the sacred boundary. Chapter 719. The Blood State was located at the southernmost edge of the Nine State. A shocking battle between the human race and the dragon race had once erupted in this state. It was the most intense battle since the 100 Saints of ancient times. The reason for the battle was unknown, but it involved the top forces of several states and destroyed all the ancient families in the Blood State. Even the surviving forces migrated to other states. After that, the Blood State became the most chaotic region in the Nine State. It was filled with killing and looting everywhere. It became the most violent and dark state in the Nine States. Blood State, Weeping Blood Plains. The plains were vast and endless. Only 10 cities stood there. They were the overlords of the Weeping Blood Plains. A spatial light broke open, and more than 10 figures extended out of the spatial tunnel. The spatial tunnel could automatically choose where to land. The appearance of these people was not a coincidence. The leader, a middle-aged man with a centipede-like scar on his face, turned around and looked at Lin Chen in the cage. He laughed sinisterly. "I didn't expect to catch such a big fish on this trip. Lin Chen, I know you're a tough nut to crack. Ordinary methods won't be able to pry open your mouth. However, we have a few methods to make you talk." The 4 people beside him shook their heads and laughed. One of the 4, the one-eyed old man, glanced at Lin Chen. "This brat used up all the resources of our 5 palaces and was able to search him with my mind-sucking technique. Hey, one-eyed old man, your method will suck people's brains dry. You should let me use the dragon-devouring, god-stealing technique." The red-robed woman with a hot body scolded coldly. There were faint traces of dragon scales on her snow-white neck. The 5 palaces of the Blood State were the Mad Dragon, Heavenly Demon, 7 Stars, White Bones, and Dark Fiend. They were the 5 strongest forces in the Blood State. They had actually formed an alliance? If this news spread, it would definitely shock the entire Blood State. They had been in the Blood State for more than 100,000 years. They were old and experienced. This time they were bidding for Lin Chen. Who knew how many methods they could use to pry open Lin Chen's secret? The Heavenly Demon Palace's mind-sucking technique could read one's mind and memories by sucking one's brain. There was no need to use torture. For example, the Mad Dragon Palace's dragon-devouring god-stealing technique could suck one's blood essence and steal one's mind and memories. It was extremely terrifying. Suddenly, Lin Chen, who was in the cage, opened his mouth and laughed. "Did you know that my handsomeness is as difficult as death?" The moment Lin Chen finished speaking, the sky exploded with a bang. The expressions of the 5 hall masters changed, and they surrounded Lin Chen to protect him. Then, they turned around and stared at the other side, where a spatial tunnel had extended out, and a group of people had appeared. Many familiar faces entered his eyes. The palace master of the White Bone Palace had a ferocious expression. The centipede scar on his face was like a crawling living creature as he spoke in a hoarse voice. "True God aristocratic family? It's you?" The hall master of the Berserk Dragon Hall, the blood-robed beauty, questioned coldly. "Who was it that exposed our identities?" The palace master of White Bone Palace quietly crushed the spatial jade slip. The patriarch of the Hun family, Hun Qishao, smiled without any change in his expression. "We're all smart people. Let's not talk about those useless things. I know the strength of the 5 palaces. Hand over Lin Chen, and we can exchange with you at the same price. If you don't hand him over, die." The palace master of White Bone Palace laughed sinisterly. "Cut the crap. No matter how strong your true god aristocratic family is, this is still our territory. You can't suppress us with just this amount of people." Boom, boom, boom. In the 10 cities of the Weeping Blood Plains, pillars of light suddenly rose up, and countless afterimages flew into the sky. They were the elders of the 5 palaces of the Blood Province. All of them looked ferocious and murderous, as expected of the experts of the Blood Province. All of them are like crazy wild beasts. The patriarch of the Lei family, Lei Xiao, raised his eyebrows. Wars broke out all year round in the Blood Province. Those who could survive here would lie on a sea of blood and mountains of corpses every day. Most of them were more ferocious and bloodthirsty than experts of the same level. When they fought, they were even more fearless. The combined strength of the 5 palaces is indeed extraordinary. At this moment, a faint sigh came from the void, and another group of people descended into the void. This time, the palace masters of the 5 palaces finally showed some seriousness. "I was wondering how they knew about our actions. So it's you guys, the Dark Society." More than 20 figures descended into the void, and all of them were the top experts of the 8th-level combat Emperor realm. Xing Mei Er was among them, and there were 7 9th-level combat emperors. With such a lineup, they could be considered the top forces in any large province. They were the organizers of the Dark Society, the Fang family, the Bai family, the Xing family, and the Yi family. The top experts of the 4 major families had all come out. If we were in the Qing city, we wouldn't dare to take action. The patriarch of the Fang family, Fang Rulong, glanced at the people who were present. A wise man submits to circumstances. Every one of the 5 palaces, hand over this kid. If you hand him over now, at least the true god aristocratic families will buy him back at the original price. If you don't know what's good for you. The Bai family's old ancestor smiled, and his eyes narrowed into slits. "Then we can only annihilate your palaces." "What price did they offer to make you guys bet the reputation of the Dark Society?" The crimson-robed woman chuckled, and a dangerous light flashed in her eyes. Fang Rulong glanced at her, and the obscene light in his eyes disappeared. He said with a sinister smile, "Palace Master Kuang Long, don't doubt the supreme true God. He is the creator of the 9 provinces continent. The opportunity that he can give us is naturally the only opportunity that we are born with. Alright, this is the final negotiation. One word, are you selling or not?" Hun Chixiao's aura faintly rose, and the atmosphere became tense. No one would have thought that the Dark Society, which had always been neutral, would side with the true god aristocratic families. If the two sides joined hands, the pressure on the 5 palaces would be great. At this moment, Lin's laughter broke the silence. Haha, I knew you guys would come to save me. It was so touching. Sure enough, there are true feelings in the world. An honest kid like me, the true god didn't abandon me, a handsome guy. After this, Lin, will definitely give the true gods a big gift. The corners of the fake god aristocratic families' mouths twitched. F***ck. Can't you be more shameless? Who the F***ck came to save you? If you fall into our hands, you will also die. This little bastard is still so stubborn before his death? The people of the Dark Society had a strange premonition. Where did this kid get his calmness and confidence to be so leisurely at this critical moment? Attack! Suddenly, the palace master of the White Bone Palace shouted coldly, and the situation changed. Sure enough, it's impossible to communicate with a beast in human skin. Forget it, let's snatch it, Hun Chixiao ordered, and the 5 fake god aristocratic families attacked one after another. The experts of the Dark Society rushed over. A terrifying battle chi storm exploded, and the two sides immediately exchanged blows. The wind and clouds in a radius of several hundred miles shook, and waves of energy spread out. Palace Master, we are here to help you. Waves of battle chi rose from all directions. The reinforcements of the 5 palaces immediately arrived, and the situation became more and more chaotic. On the other side, outside the Weeping Blood Plain, the experts of the Ling family had just arrived at the summit of a 10,000 zhang tall mountain in the wasteland. Before they could see the situation of the battle clearly, a black-robed figure followed closely behind and descended from the sky, causing the experts of the Ling family to tremble. It was the mysterious person who had killed the patriarchs of the 3 clans and had Lin Chun as the auction item. He had also come. Chapter 720. The 2 9th-level combat emperors of the Ling family had just arrived and were waiting for an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. However, the mysterious god had arrived. He's here too? Does he want to take advantage of us? Oh no, if he makes a move, the Ling family will have nothing to do with us. The experts of the Ling family were nervous and alert. Waves of battle chi emerged. The Ling family did not have the confidence to fight against the patriarchs of the 3 great dragon tribes. The mysterious man in the black robe walked leisurely on the mountain peak as if he was taking a stroll. He even set up a big iron pot, lit the fire, and added the soup in one go. Everyone, the scenery here is great. Why don't we have a hot pot and drink some of the pretentious young people, and talk about life? Isn't it beautiful? After he finished speaking, the man in the black robe took out a section of the dragon's tail from his spirit storage ring. He flicked it with his finger. The flesh of the tail was rich and pure, and the lines were clear. He couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the dark demon's tail, it's a good ingredient for hot pot. After he finished speaking, he put the dragon's tail into the iron pot. The experts of the Ling family all twitched their lips. Damn! Using the dragon patriarch's tail for hot pot, other than the mysterious god in front of them, who else would do that? Did you bring wine? The man in the black robe raised his head and asked. The patriarch of the Ling family finally came back to his senses and quickly handed over a green jade pot. Sir, please try this. It's a famous product of the Ling family. 10,000 stars in the sky, 1 mouthful is like reaching the sky, 3 mouthfuls are like reaching the clouds. He took the wine pot and said with a smile, "Have a seat. After we finish eating, we can talk about cooperation." At this moment, the patriarchs and elders of the Ling family understood what he meant. This mysterious god didn't have any evil intentions towards them. Maybe there was a chance for cooperation? Yes, the patriarch of the Ling family said happily. Everyone looked at each other and sat around the iron pot, forming a circle. Ling Rushue's beautiful eyes widened. It was this person who put Prince Lin Chen in danger. The patriarch of the Ling family didn't dare to ask Lin Chen. He asked about the origin of the Ling family from time to time. It turned out that they were from a big family in the Cloud State, the Ling family. After everyone quietly finished eating, they couldn't help but sigh. The Dragon Clan patriarch's tale was really King delicious. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Lin Chen activated his purple gold eyes through the cloak and observed the chaotic battle. At this moment, the experts of the 5 palaces were risking their lives to protect Lin Chen within the cage. Although there was a huge disparity between the two sides, this was the home ground of the 5 palaces, and they had many killer moves. Moreover, the experts of the 5 palaces were fighting with all their might, which temporarily stabilized the situation. They were even slightly suppressing the fake god families. But looking at the battle situation carefully, the experts of the 5 palaces were almost constantly accumulating injuries. Although they had the upper hand in the battle, in fact, they were delayed by the experts of the Dark Society and the fake god families. Soon, there would be a large number of casualties. Lin Chen's mouth split into a wide grin as he looked at the attribute balls of light falling from the bodies of the experts. They shone with a myriad of colors as they floated in the air. He couldn't wait for them to continue fighting until the sky darkened and the earth darkened, until the other party used all their trump cards. At that time, it would be time for him to reap the harvest. Whoosh! At this moment, a green dragon light shone, and a huge dragon appeared above the Ling family experts. It had a green dragon body, purple phoenix wings, and a dragon tail. It shocked the Ling family members. What kind of dragon was this? It actually had several bloodlines in one body, and it was at the peak of rank 7. The dragon hid in the void and disappeared into nothingness. Lin Chen sent out the Dragon Emperor and used the green dragon shadow to sneak into the void and escape into the chaotic battle situation. In the Weeping Blood Plain, the blood clouds were rolling. At this time, there were already battle emperors who had fallen, and they were high-level battle emperors. To the Dragon Emperor, the emperor's body could open up the dragon meridians. Just like this, a terrifying existence unknowingly sneaked into the battle between the 5 palaces, the Dark Society, and the fake god families. Lurking in the dark, ready to launch a sneak attack and swallow the battle emperor in one gulp. Seeing that this mysterious god had more and more trump cards, Lin Chen smiled casually in the Ling family experts' somewhat restrained atmosphere. Everyone from the Ling family, if you assist me later and stop those fellows who are escaping, of course, prioritize stopping those so-called true god families, I will naturally give you a satisfactory reward. Fake god families? There was actually someone who dared to call true god families fake gods? Who exactly was this person? The Ling family head was a little confused. He asked tentatively, "Sir, in this situation, it is obvious that the true god families have the upper hand. After I make my move, they will only be at a disadvantage." Lin Chen smiled casually, and the Ling family members' hearts skipped a beat. As expected, this god was here to take advantage of others. As for the reward, I think you will like this. Lin Chen opened his palm, and it was the purple crystal that sealed the blazing sky technique. The Ling family members were stunned, and then they were ecstatic. It was actually this top-grade purple rank mental cultivation technique. Although their Ling family's foundation was rich, they had not established themselves in the ancient era. Although there were many books in the family, they did not have a top-grade purple rank mental cultivation technique. A mental cultivation technique of this grade was too rare. Even in the ancient era it was a rare item. If they had this mental cultivation technique, in less than 1,000 years, their Ling family would be able to produce a top-grade purple rank mental cultivation technique. That was why the Ling family had prepared so many resources to bid for this mental cultivation technique in the secret meeting, but they did not expect it to be won by this god in front of them. This was a heaven-defying opportunity. If they could exchange it for a mental cultivation technique of this grade with just a single cooperation, they would have made a huge profit. However, you have to think carefully. You have to help me stop the so-called true god families of the 9 prefectures. Once you make your move, it means that your entire family will stand on the opposite side of them. Lin Chen smiled mockingly. This top-grade purple-rank mental cultivation technique was not very useful to him. At most, he could only break down the essence of the technique or bring it back to the academy and give it to the Ling family as a reward. Half of the reason was because of Ling Ruxue, a stranger that he had never met before. The Ling family head fell into silence. This decision would affect the future of the Ling family. On the other side, boom! Another early-stage 8th stage combat emperor mysteriously disappeared. This time, it was someone from the fake god family. Received 45. 6 million battle aura essence, 120,000 rune energy, 1250 fire energy, 1300 metal energy, 400 spiritual energy, 90,000 talent points, 90,000 heavens path points. The Dragon Emperor was crazily collecting the attribute light balls dropped by the combat emperors from both sides. His attributes were constantly increasing. Something is wrong. Hun Qishao was the first to leave the main battlefield, and the pressure on the top forces of the 5 palaces was greatly reduced. His red eyes swept back and forth, and suddenly, he stared at a direction in the void with a furious expression. What the hell is that? Come out! Hun Qishao stretched out his palm. His palm was like an evil dragon, and it swept across the sky. As he furiously slapped the void, the universe was torn apart. A dark cyan dragon chi spread out and turned into a dragon domain, intercepting the tyrannical battle aura palm wind. The azure dragon light turned into a sword ray and slashed down. Rip! Bang! The energy light of the explosion illuminated the horizon. A gigantic dragon that was thousands of feet long faintly appeared, and it shocked everyone. This dragon had 3 types of bloodlines, and it was extremely strange. Many experts were so frightened that their faces turned pale. There was actually such a terrifying fellow that sneaked into their battle, and they didn't even know. This dragon? Everyone, stop fighting! Hun Qixiao's eyes stared at the Dragon Emperor for a long time. His red eyes moved rapidly, and he scanned the surroundings, clearly seeing through every blade of grass and tree within hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, Hun Qixiao's eyes focused on a 100,000 feet tall mountain millions of miles away. The Ling family and the rest had been discovered. Hun Qixiao, who was staring at the peak of the mountain outside the plains, roared furiously. Lin Chen, it's actually you? Hun Qixiao's words caused a huge commotion. All the experts present were shocked and stunned. What's going on? Isn't Lin Chen in the prison of the 5 palaces? Chapter 721. At the peak of the mountain, the Ling family head had a solemn expression, but his heart was in turmoil. He had clearly sensed that Hun Qixiao was shouting Lin Chen in their direction. However, wasn't Lin Chen still in the cage? Could it be? The meticulous Ling family head thought of a certain possibility, and his heart trembled violently. On the weeping blood plain, Hun Qixiao waved his hand and shouted coldly without even turning his head. Stop fighting! There's no point in continuing. The experts from the fake god families and the Dark Society retreated from the battle in bewilderment. Lei Xiao berated, Hun Qixiao, what the hell are you doing? You're giving the enemy a chance. The 5 palace masters were wild with joy. They finally had a chance to catch their breaths from the battle. Just as they were about to escape with Lin Chen, Hun Qixiao's words caused everyone present to explode. That Lin Chen is a fake. The real one is over there. All the experts were dumbfounded. The experts from the 5 palaces froze. Fake? How could this be? Hadn't the true god families personally verified this? Moreover, this Linchern had been repeatedly verified by the experts from the 5 palaces. He had flesh and blood, his battle chi cultivation was not fake, his spiritual power was incomparably complete, and his flesh and blood were as strong as a ferocious beast's. No matter how they looked at it, it was impossible for him to be a fake. If all of this was fake, then they would really have to doubt their lives. That guy seems to be the one who killed the 3 Dragon Clan leaders. That's not right. Wasn't he the one who sold this Linchern? How could he be Linchern? All the experts, including the organizer of the Dark Society, were stunned and puzzled. Did Hun Qishao take the wrong medicine? Did he mistake this god for Linchern? The 5 people from the Ling family on the mountain peak stared at Linchern in a daze, only to see him shake his head and laugh. I'm singing while eating hot pot, and I'm still recognized even though I'm wearing a cloak. Being handsome is so annoying. Whoosh. With a wave of his hand, the black robe was stowed away, revealing a handsome young man dressed in a silver robe. He had a frivolous smile on his face as he stood at the peak of the mountain. Bring it on, lackeys of the fake gods. You've been surrounded by me alone. All the experts suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Exactly the same. The young man in front of him was exactly the same as the auctioned item, Linchern. What was going on? Xing Mei covered her red lips with her hand. Her heart was in turmoil. She had personally interacted with Linchern, but she couldn't see through his disguise at all. The experts of the 5 palaces stared at each other, first at Linchern on the mountain peak, then at Linchern in the cage. All the experts were in disarray. That mysterious expert was actually Linchern? But that's not right. If that was the case, then which Linchern was the real one? If both were true, then this Linchern was too deranged. This guy actually auctioned him off at a secret meeting? There was such a thing? Ling Ruxue was even more stunned, her beautiful eyes flashing. Never in her wildest dreams would she have thought that the mysterious man whom she hated so much was actually the young Master Linchern whom she had been yearning for day and night. The intelligence of a fake god's lackey is only this much. How could I, Linchern, be caught? Linchern smiled casually. With a thought, the bloody doppelganger that the experts of the 5 palaces were desperately protecting in the cage suddenly disappeared with a chi sound. The 5 palace masters looked at this scene with their eyes wide open. In a split second, their scalps went numb. A chill surged from the soles of their feet to their hearts, directly piercing their brains. It was actually real. This little bastard really King auctioned himself off at a secret meeting. The fake god family, the host family of the secret meeting, and the 5 palaces of the Blood Province. When all the experts saw Lin Chen's mocking and playful smile, their faces instantly turned green. The entire secret meeting, including the host, was played in circles by him. It's Prince Linchern. It's the real Prince Linchern. Ling Ruxue covered her red lips with both of her hands as her heart trembled. Using the strength of a single person to play with the top powerhouses of the 9 regions, apart from Linchern, who else could do such a thing? We've been tricked. F***ck, this brat dares to trick us. We've been played in circles by him. If we don't take revenge, the entire White Bone Palace is not human. The White Bone Palace master let out a mournful roar. The tip of his feet stepped on the void, shattering a piece of space as he rushed towards Linchern. Azure Dragon Sword. 10,000-year black light blade. The dragon tail swayed, and the azure dragon light condensed into a slash that violently slashed down, splitting the sky. The azure sword light instantly pushed the White Bone Palace master back. When the rotating azure light blade arrived, it directly forced the White Bone Palace master to use his life-saving defensive combat skill, 10,000 nether white bone. Chi. Boom. The White Bone Palace master used all his strength to barely block the Dragon Emperor's attack. His hands were covered in blood, and he was only able to stabilize himself after retreating 1,000 steps. The shock in his heart was as great as his expression of disbelief. So powerful, that azure dragon of his is no longer the same as before. It's at least comparable to the patriarchs of the top 3 dragon clans. Hun Chixiao's pupils shrank. The Dragon Emperor's attack made everyone realize an even more serious problem. If Lin Chen was that mysterious person, then didn't that mean he had killed 3 patriarchs of the Dragon Clan? Thinking of this, the experts of the Blood Province who wanted to riot and fight Lin Chen to the death suddenly felt a bucket of cold water being poured on them. The shock in the hearts of the 5 people from the Ling family was no less than the shock in the hearts of everyone present. What kind of monster could do such a thing that others didn't even dare to think about? Using his own strength to toy with the true God clans, the Dark Society, the 5 palaces of the Blood Province, and other top forces. Using the heads of the Dragon Clan's patriarchs as a bid. He even auctioned off himself. These guys' hostility towards me has weakened. I have to bait them again and add fuel to the fire. Otherwise, they'll be in trouble if my 5-blow thunderclap doesn't hit them. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes and used infinite silent steps, taking the initiative to attack the fake god clans. Activating Ultimate Moment consumed 50,000 talent point. Activating Illusion Rune consumed 30,000 rune energy point. Shwa, shwa, shwa. 4 Lin Chens appeared on the battlefield. 5-foot Lin Chen's battle auras swept across the sky. 7 transformations. Lin Chen and his 4 clones' cultivation temporarily increased from mid-stage 6th stage to late-stage 7th stage. With a clang, swords and sabers were unsheathed. With a thunderous roar, the clones wielded the famed Sword Meridian and slashed down. Blazing Cyan Moon Slash. A blazing cyan storm of sword energy twisted the Lei family's ancestor, Lei Xiao, and the others. Bright Mirror Moon, Swift Moon. A flash of saber light illuminated the entire sky and slashed towards the Mo family's ancestor, Mo Ling. Dark Shadow Sky Piercing Arrow. The Wind Emperor bow was fully drawn, and a dark arrow light pierced through the sky and shot towards the Jian family's ancestor, Jian Yin. 7 Deadly Force. Cutting Force. As though space was being pulled apart, the Wang family's ancestor, Wang Wushuang, was strangely pulled 1,000 li away. A fist with cutting force as sharp as a blade smashed towards him. 1 Spear Style 95. Glorious Nirvana transformed into a wild dragon emerging from the sea. The 5-colored dragon spear furiously pierced through the sky. Bang, 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 rumble. A terrifying battle aura bloomed, and mushroom clouds appeared. Many experts were blasted away by the aftershock. Fang Rulong of the Dark Society cried out in shock. 3 Peak 7th Stage Weapons. Chapter 722. In the 9 prefectures, there were only a limited number of 7th-order weapons. However, Lin Chen alone had 3 of them? Seeing that Lin Chen was using their famed Sword Meridian, the experts from the 5 palaces of the Blood Province were enraged. They were furious. Hun Chixiao blocked Lin Chen's glorious Nirvana with both hands and retreated a few steps. Then, he dashed forward again and attacked with his old hands like an eagle's claws. Lin Chen blocked with his spear and retreated. Boom! With the Dragon Emperor participating in the battle, Lin Chen alone, with 5 people and 1 dragon, forcefully clashing with the 5 fake deity clans. The battle's momentum shook the heavens and the earth. However, even though they had obtained 2 new 7th-stage top-tier weapons, Lin Chen's side was still at a disadvantage. They could only rely on their movement techniques and the rune's penetration and charge to drag out the battle. This was because every fake deity clan had an ancestor and 2 grand elders. It was equivalent to 1 late-stage 9th stage, 2 early-stage 9th stage, and 3 late-stage 8th stage expert. Basically, every one of Lin Chen's clones and main body had to fight against 6 of them. If not for the 80% proficiency of Infinite Silent Step, Lin Chen's clones would have been seriously injured. Consumed 10,000 talent points to activate fatal bloodthirst. Healed 26% of actual damage received. Consumed 9,500 talent points to activate fatal bloodthirst. Healed 25% of actual damage received. Each of Lin Chen's doppelgangers only had the battle strength of the early 9th stage, but they were resilient. Furthermore, they relied on the penetration rune to battle, constantly inflicting damage to the opponent. Their own injuries were also constantly being healed. Relying on the life growth and fatal bloodlust, coupled with their movement techniques, they were completely trading lives for lives. However, what worried the fake deity clan's ancestor the most was the mysterious person beside Lin Chen. That mysterious person's strength was too abnormal. With a wave of his hand, he destroyed the 6 clan's attack. His strength was not in the same dimension. Fortunately, judging from the mysterious person's attitude, he was not with Lin Chen. Moreover, that mysterious person was not under Lin Chen's control and was not beside him now. This was the most important thing. Myriad transformation. 9th stage battle aura flowed, and the wind from the spear rotated, stopping the 2 flaming claws. Clang! Clang! Hun Qishao took advantage of the gap and attacked 4 times, hitting Lin Chen twice. Lin Chen's chest glowed with golden light, and the tricolored Heavenly Tribulation Battle Aura crystal layer had blocked a portion of the attack's power. A top-tier mid-grade 7th rank armor. You actually have such a treasure? It seems that you're in luck again. His murderous intent soared. If this kid continued to grow, there would be no end to his troubles. Hun Qishao sneered when he saw that Lin Chen seemed to be holding back. What? Aren't you going to use that secret technique of yours that can temporarily increase your cultivation and that 8th-tier saber? Do you think you can fight the Hun family with just 99 million dragon power points and a late-stage level 7? Was successfully activated heavenly invisibility, recharge and penetration runes. Consumed 750,000 rune energy. Annihilation. Before he could finish, the wind and clouds changed. Whoosh! Boom! A beam of spiritual energy that emanated destructive fluctuations appeared without the slightest sign, and it seemed as if it was translucent as it blasted onto Hun Qishao and the others, causing all of them to spit blood while their countenances turned ghastly pale. Lin Chen, who was holding the spear with one hand, smiled coldly. Holding the spear with both hands, he activated all 9 types of Heavenly Tribulation battle bodies to the extreme, and his battle aura surged like a dragon. Low humming battle songs resounded in the sky, as if Azura had arrived again. 100 styles. Azura annihilation. Lin Chen's aura continued to rise. His dragon force exploded and his 9-colored battle chi disappeared. His spear shadows pierced through the void with extreme speed. He was like an invincible Azura that had appeared in this world. When the 5-colored dragon's spear pierced out, the 100 spears merged into one spear and condensed into a single beam of light that flashed past. The dome of heaven instantly split open. His mid-stage Heaven Ascension realm spiritual attack came without warning. This is something that the kid didn't have last time. Damn it! Hun Qishao forcefully endured the damage to his mental energy and formed a huge flaming spear. With a sweep of his spear, a tearing sound could be heard as the Azura extermination exploded. Boom! The sonic boom was like thunder. Lin Chen flapped his purple phoenix wings and used the silent step. His speed was so fast that every 9th-level combat emperor felt a lingering fear. Just when everyone thought that the Azura extermination was his full strength, he approached Hun Qishao and unleashed a heaven and earth reversing fist wind that was imbued with cutting force and ripping force, brazenly striking out. Hun Qishao, who had just reacted, quickly retreated. However, he found that the space around him was distorted by a mysterious force. His body involuntarily flew toward Lin Chen. When the experts of the Dark Society and the 5 palaces saw this strange fist technique, they were shocked. It was as if a large piece of space was suddenly pulled toward Lin Chen. Not good! Hun Qishao cursed inwardly. Bang! When Lin Chen's fist violently hit Hun Qishao's heart, it resounded throughout the sky. This punch contained Lin Chen's full strength, combining 3 types of 7 extremes force into one. What kind of fist technique is this? Fang Rulong, who was proficient in close combat, couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Godzilla, cutting and ripping, fist technique. Lin Chen sneered and continued to attack, ignoring the attribute light balls that Hun Qishao dropped. Both of them tangled together again. However, when facing a late-stage 9th-level combat emperor, even if his opponent was injured, Lin Chen still couldn't gain the upper hand. Apart from Hun Qishao, the other experts of the Hun family were almost unable to move because of the mental injuries they suffered. Lin Chen's strength was between the early stage and mid-stage 9th-level combat emperor. Because of his nimble and unpredictable movements, he could contend with late-stage 9th-level combat emperors. If he used the Heavenly Invisibility Talisman together with the Annihilation Strike, he could injure late-stage 9th-level combat emperors. Damn! What are you looking at? Hurry up and help. Although this kid is strong, he is not as strong as the 3 Dragon Clan patriarchs. Hun Qishao couldn't defeat Lin Chen after a long battle, so he immediately warned the members of the Dark Society. They didn't dare to interfere because Lin Chen's performance in the auction was too terrifying. However, although he was very strong, he was far from being able to influence the situation of the land of the 9 prefectures as they had imagined. They were worrying too much. Ancestor Qishao, be careful! Ancestor Jian Yin of the Jian family transmitted his voice to Hun Qishao. Hun Qishao immediately replied, "It doesn't matter. We can still use our holy physique one more time." With the addition of the members of the Dark Society and those lunatics from the Blood Prefecture, even if this kid takes out his 8th-level saber and the strength he used to break out of the encirclement, he still won't be a match for us. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to eliminate him. Fang Rulong shouted angrily, "Capture this kid!" The more than 20 experts of the Dark Society quickly spread out and surrounded Lin Chen and his clones. We can't fall behind. We must pry out this kid's secrets. The 5 palaces of the Blood Prefecture didn't want to fall behind. They had paid such a heavy price, but they were still toyed with by this kid. They wished they could skin Lin Chen alive. The entire Weeping Blood Plain was filled with an aura that seemed like it would collapse the sky. Each of the 3 major forces had the strongest combat power in their respective prefecture. This kind of lineup made Ling Rushua, who was on the peak of the great desolate mountain, turn pale. The Ling family patriarch's palms were also sweating. Although Lin Chen was strong, he was far from being strong enough to contend against this lineup alone. Chapter 723. Should the Ling family go up or not? Even if they went up, they would only be a lone sailboat charging into the ocean storm. Even self-preservation would be a problem. At that moment, a maniacal laugh resounded like thunder and wind. "Ha ha, come at me, all of you. If you can't kill me today, you are all a bunch of idiots." The Ling family's experts' mouths twitched. He could still laugh at a time like this? He still had the mood to provoke everyone? As if they had been provoked by Lin Chen, the experts from the 5 palaces went from being cautious to furious and murderous. Only violent killing intent toward Lin Chen was left in their eyes. This person has done too many heartless things. It's easy for him to be struck by lightning. Under the encirclement of all the experts, Lin Chen used the silent step in the air and retreated rapidly. As he turned and flashed, the corners of his mouth curved into a devilish arc. He leaped and the Dragon Emperor flew back to his side. He stood on the dragon's head and looked down at all the emperors. Now is the time. System, activate the 5-blow thunderstruck sure kill technique. The moment all the experts closed in on him, Lin Chen communicated with the system with a thought. All experts hostile to the host within a 50,000-mile radius have been locked on. Activating the top-tier green-grade sure-kill technique, 5-blow thunderstruck. Zap! Bang! A thunderstorm exploded in the sky, and in the void above all the experts, a 5-colored thundercloud descended without any warning. The power of thunder it released caused every expert to feel uneasy. Something's wrong. Activate the divine constitution. Hun Qishao and the Lei family's patriarch, Lei Xiao, shouted almost at the same time. This was especially true for Lei Xiao, who was born with the lightning body. He could clearly feel the terrifying power of the lightning within the 5-colored thundercloud. The experts from the Dark Society and the 5 palaces instantly felt that something was amiss. They all retreated and activated their defensive techniques. Whether it was the experts from the fake god families, the 5 palaces, or the Dark Society, no matter how they escaped into the void or used their ultimate techniques to jump through space, the thundercloud seemed to have locked on to their spiritual aura. They couldn't avoid it even if they wanted to. What the hell is this? An unprecedented fear surfaced in their hearts. He didn't have time to react. Boom! With a deafening clap of thunder, the 5-colored thunderclouds above the experts' heads suddenly exploded. 1,000-meter thick, 10,000-meter long 5-colored thunderbolt struck down from the sky like a lightning dragon. Bang! 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 The thunderous roar seemed to be about to explode the heavens. The entire Weeping Blood Plain was torn apart by the endless power of 5-colored thunderbolts. The remaining power of the sound waves traveled nearly 1,000,000 miles away, yet it was still able to shake the spatial crystal walls to the point that they were on the verge of collapse. Ah! It hurts. What kind of combat skill is this? I'm going to be torn apart. Why? What the hell is this thing? Why can't I dodge it? I can't accept this. I've roamed the Blood Province for 100,000 years and killed countless people. My 10,000 years of painstaking effort was all for today, but it was actually taken by this brat. No, Lin Chen. We surrender. Hurry up and put away this damned lightning. Countless experts in the void were blasted into a bloody mess by the 5-colored thunderbolt. They tumbled and died. The 5-colored thunderclouds seemed to be a tribulation that pinched their fates. No matter how powerful they were, they couldn't escape the lightning punishment from the thunderclouds. Those who hadn't reached the 9th-level Combat Emperor didn't even last for 3 breaths of time. Just the 5-colored thunderbolts had blasted them into dregs, causing a large number of attribute light balls to fall into the void. This scene was like a calamity to the heavens and earth. Lin Chen's gaze became particularly deep and dignified as he stared at the ancestors of the fake god families. On the summit of the great desolate mountain, the people of the Ling family were completely stunned. Oh my god! What kind of supreme art is this? The Ling family's patriarch took in a breath of cold air. He could clearly feel that the 5-colored thunderbolts had the power to turn a 9th-level combat emperor into ashes. If one was struck by the thunderbolts, even if one's foundation was strong enough to barely survive, he was afraid that he would be crippled for life, and it would be difficult for him to return to his peak state. The experts under the 5-colored thunderclouds, the early 9th-level combat emperors, would fall at any time. The mid-9th-level combat emperors were on the verge of death. The late 9th-level combat emperors were continuously struck by the thunderbolts and were severely injured. Ling Ruxue stood in a daze as she stared at the young man who was bathed in the endless 5-colored thunderbolts. She was stunned for a moment. His eyes were like stars and his eyebrows were like swords. There was a faint domineering aura around him as he stepped on a giant dragon that was 10,000 feet long, like an overlord who ruled over all living things. The thunderbolts kept exploding and the twisting airwaves blew against his robe, causing it to flutter loudly. However, his expression didn't change at all. There was no longer the frivolous expression he had just now. There was only a fierceness that was determined to cut off all means of retreat and sink all boats. Rumble! 5 vast and majestic battle-chees appeared from the void. Their aura covered the sky and covered the sun, like the sun and moon in the sky and the rivers flowing on the earth. These were the saint bodies of the 5 ancestors. After activating their saint bodies, their cultivation temporarily surpassed the 9th level Combat Emperor and reached the legendary 1st Tribulation Combat Emperor of the 5th Tribulation Emperor realm. Although the power of the 5 lightnings was strong, it only caused them a certain degree of injury. They weren't seriously injured. Although they had activated their sacred body in the nick of time, the 5 patriarchs were still drenched in cold sweat. If they had reacted a little slower, they would have been seriously injured by the 5-blow thunderclaps. At least, they could still rely on their saint bodies to resist the attack. This kid has mastered such a killing technique in just a few days. No wonder he could kill the patriarchs of the 3 families. While Hun Qishao was still in shock, the 5-colored thundercloud was about to disappear. The 5 lightnings was about to end. However, it wasn't over yet. Lin Chen's eyes were as sharp as a knife. He raised one of his hands and snapped his fingers again. But, bang! The second 5-colored thundercloud descended. Finally, a sense of despair emerged in the hearts of all the experts. Again? Motherf ****. This kid is coming for the second time? Lei Xiao couldn't help but curse. If it was an ordinary thunderbolt, his 10,000-mile saint body wouldn't be afraid at all. However, the 5-colored thundercloud contained the principles of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It started from the foundation of the 5 elements to destroy the body and battle-cheese. There was no way one could resist such destructive power. Oh no! If the first round of thunderbolts comes again, we won't be able to escape unscathed even with our saint bodies. The old ancestor of the Jian family, Jian Yin, activated his saint body and wielded his sword to resist the 5 lightnings. At the same time, his expression became more and more serious. The second 5-colored thundercloud didn't give them any time to think. After the first thundercloud disappeared, it immediately followed up with a series of violent strikes. Rumble! Rumble! After a series of explosions, some of the mid-9th level combat emperors were turned into dust. They could barely withstand the first round of the 5 lightnings, but they couldn't withstand the second round. Now is the time to decide the winner. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with a murderous glint. Even if the 5 ancestors were to use their so-called saint body, they would still be injured by the 5-blow thunderstruck twice in a row. Moreover, the energy of the saint body would be used to resist the 5-blow thunderstruck twice. This was a unique opportunity. If he wanted to kill them, now was the best time. As long as these old bastards who were dogs for the fake gods were still alive, the spiritual state would never have peace. Clang! The saber box was opened, and the sound of the saber being unsheathed echoed in the sky. Lin Chen's true body was holding the azure moon, and the 8th level saber was born again. Hun Qishao, who was hastily resisting the 5-colored thunderbolts, saw Lin Chen pulling out the azure moon. His pupils shrunk, and he finally understood Lin Chen's intention. This brat wanted to annihilate them right here. Chapter 724. Lin Chen did not care about the fall of the Dark Society and the 5 palaces. Those who allied with the fake god family were Lin Chen's enemies. As for the Blood Province's 5 palaces, who knew how many lives they had killed? Every single one of them was covered in blood. Lin Chen did not care about the lives of these people. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. The saber in his hand was as bright as the moon. It shone with a sharp light that could split the sky. This is the 3rd time I've used an 8th grade saber. Azure Moon still has 2 more chances. I have to kill these guys this time. If I attack now, it will disrupt the 5-blow thunderstruck and help them share the pressure. wait for the perfect opportunity to kill them. Lin Chen only had one 5-blow thunderstruck left. He was saving it for a critical moment. If he encountered these guys again, he would not have the chance now. Lin Chen and his 4 avatars stood together and continued to activate the ultimate moment talent. The Dragon Emperor flew around the void and collected a large number of attribute light balls. Received 96.95 million battle aura essences, 130,000 cultivation technique essences, 100,000 talent points, 60,000 rune energy, 790 spiritual power, 98 million vitality, 900 blank attribute points, 1,985 wind energy, 1,485 dark energy, 2,854 fire energy. Opened 10 purple crystal treasure chests. Received 100,000 talent points, 100,000 rune energy, 200,000 heavenly Tao points, 2 advanced/intermediate purple cultivation technique scrolls, 500,000 cultivation technique essences, 10,000 fire energy. The system screen quickly popped up. Lin Chen's attributes continued to soar. He was ready to activate the heavenly invisibility rune and 9 tribulations star at any time. He only had one chance. He had to kill the fake god family here. After these 2 rounds of 5-blow thunderstruck, all those below the late stage of the 9th stage had perished. Not a single one survived. Only the 5 ancestors, 1 ancestor from the Serene Evil Hall, and the organizer of the Dark Society, Fang Rulong, were left. The 2 of them were seriously injured and did not have much combat power. The shock in the hearts of the 5 members of the Ling clan was indescribable. Each of these 3 forces were considered to be at the top of the pyramid in the 9 prefectures. In the end, there were only 7 people who survived. The sacred bodies of the 5 patriarchs were already in tatters. There were cracks all over their bodies, and they had less than half of their combat power left. Congratulations, host, for advancing to the late stage of level 6. After taking away all the elemental light balls, Lin Chen, who had broken through, used the 7-layered transformations to temporarily increase his cultivation to the early stage of the 8th stage. Finally, the 2 5-blow thunderclaps were about to end, and Lin Chen's aura suddenly soared. They're here. This brat wants to kill us. Hun Qixiao's heart sank, and he was just about to retreat with the other 4 when a grayish-white talisman descended from the sky. It exploded apart, suppressed the world, and froze space. Everything within a radius of 10,000 li was sealed off. Lin Chen's rune energy dropped by almost 10 million points at this moment. This was the most powerful slowing rune that Lin Chen had ever used. It immediately suppressed the 5 patriarchs. In the past, when Lin Chen was fighting in the spiritual state, he had only used 3 million points of rune energy to delay Hun Zongxing and the other 2 9th stage combat emperors. This 10 million points could even freeze the 5 patriarchs. The moment the slowing rune was activated, the 4 clones attacked with lightning speed. A twisting annihilation spiritual light pillar appeared in the sky. An arrow pierced the sky, a saber illuminated the sky, and a sword rotated. Annihilation, sky-piercing shadow arrow, mirror moon, imperial god, blazing green moon slash. All of them were the most powerful killing moves, and they were strengthened by the charging and penetrating runes. The moment the clones attacked, Lin Chen slashed with the azure bright moon in his hand. A slash of moonlight that could divide heaven and earth illuminated the whole world, and it flashed by. Mirror Moon Imperial God. The Mirror Moon Imperial God, which was unleashed by an 8th stage saber, was on a completely different level from the Dragon Glory. Not good. The 5 patriarchs' expressions changed. The feeling of death loomed over them all. They were severely injured and held back by the slowing rune, so they couldn't withstand such a terrifying attack. Jian Enold Ancestor, who had raised his sword to block, was cut into pieces by the Mirror Moon Imperial God from the 8th rank saber weapon. Bang! 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 A series of chaotic energy storms rose into the sky. They were tens of thousands of feet tall and hundreds of thousands of feet wide. The residual energy of the storms turned everything within tens of thousands of miles into ashes. This kid actually has a saber that seems to be an 8th stage saint artifact. It's too terrifying. He really has the ability to kill the 3 races. Even the 10 patriarchs of the dragon clan together are no match for him. The surviving Feng Rulong and the patriarch of the serene evil temple witnessed this scene. Deep fear flashed across their eyes, and they began to flee silently. This attack was too terrifying, especially the spiritual light pillar and the slash of the 8th stage saber. It was as if they could split heaven and earth. Even if they were at their peak, they would be crippled or even killed by a single slash. It's not over yet. The killing intent in Lin Chen's eyes was monstrous. His penetration, charging, and heavenly invisibility runes were activated at the same time. A 9-colored starlight that only Lin Chen could see was spinning in his palm. It spun like a wheel, and the 9 tribulations battle chi was rapidly depleted. Lin Chen's face was slightly pale. In the next moment, he threw out the 9-colored starlight with one hand. The 9 tribulations star in the heavenly invisibility rune streaked across the sky and fell down like a 9-colored meteor. Rumble! The energy explosion of the mushroom cloud rose to a height of 100,000 feet, shaking the weeping blood plain. In the center of the energy explosion, a 9-colored light pillar was blooming and spinning. It overflowed with unprecedented destructive energy. Every time it spun, the 9-colored energy wave overflowed, containing the power to destroy the world. The destructive energy in the center of the light pillar was enough to crush any late-stage 9th stage combat emperor. It was second only to the 9 tribulations star in the spiritual state when he used the 4 great innate skills. The current Lin Chen could temporarily enter the early stage of 8th stage combat emperor after using the 7-stage transformation. In addition to his intermediate elemental attribute, he had an average of more than 700,000 points. In the current 9 prefectures continent, there were probably less than 10 people who could withstand his 9 tribulations star. Swoosh! 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 3 blood-red lights escaped from the void. They were 3 of the 5 great ancestors, Lei Xiao, Hun Qi Xiao, and Mo Ling. The other 2 had already died in the center of the attack. Even with the protection of the saint body, they were still blasted into dregs. There are still 3 of them who managed to escape? This result was somewhat out of Lin Chen's expectation. At this moment, the experts of the Ling family in the Great Wilderness immediately rushed toward Lei Xiao and intercepted him. The Dragon Emperor flapped his purple phoenix wings and assisted the Ling family with the frightening dragon roam. The 4 clones used the silent step technique to intercept Mo Ling. Damn the Ling family, do you also want to become enemies with the true God family? Get lost, don't seek death for the Ling family. Mo Ling roared in exasperation. The patriarch of the Ling family smiled deeply and said, I, Ling Mo, am still able to see the situation clearly. This path is blocked. The experts of the Ling family continued to entangle, and even the late-stage 9th stage combat Emperor Mo Ling was intercepted. Lin Chen flapped his purple phoenix wings and rushed toward Hun Qi Xiao. Chapter 725. Lin Chen raised the azure bright moon with both hands and slashed horizontally at Hun Qi Xiao with the moon of speed. The moonlight slash was as fast as a flash. Hun Qi Xiao's arm was cut off. His expression was the most terrified he had ever been since he became famous. He took out a spatial jade slip from his spirit storage ring with one hand. He couldn't use the spatial jade slip in the chaotic energy at the center of the explosion. Even though he wasn't far from the center of the explosion, he had no choice but to risk his life. Boom! A grayish-white light flashed, and a grayish-white rune appeared above his head. The spatial jade slip wasn't torn apart, and Lin Chen slashed with the mirror of speed instead. With a bang, the spatial jade slip was shattered. Another 3 slashes of the moon of speed. The azure bright moon was extremely fast and cut Han Qishao into pieces. Blood splattered across the sky. This once all-powerful figure in the divine continent was about to become a ghost under Lin Chen's blade. Boom. Bang. 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 On the other side, the 4th clone of the 4 clones seized the opportunity and attacked Lei Xiao at close range. His fists either turned into a storm, slashed, poked, and performed the cutting force, pulling force, and tearing force to the fullest. Even if he had other trump cards, he could not resist the siege of the 4 clones and the fierce close-range bombardment. Eventually, he was blown up alive. The clones were free to attack Mo Ling. With the azure bright moon on Han Qixiao's neck, Lin Chen's expression was cold. How does it feel to be a dog for a fake god? Do you have any last words? Han Qixiao, whose body had been cut into pieces, only had his upper body left. He sneered and said, Lin Chen, why are you so calm? If I self-destruct, you will definitely die. You can try and see if your self-destruction is faster than my blade. Tell me the motive and plan of the master behind you, and I will let you die a quick death. Lin Chen sneered. Han Qixiao coughed out a mouthful of blood and laughed sinisterly. Ha 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 ha, Lin Chen, so what if you're a peerless genius? Going against the Lord True God, only death awaits you. The great true God would soon descend upon the 9 regions. This news had begun to spread across the entire 9 state. Even if you could kill me, how could you kill so many masters in the 9 states? Many masters would choose to serve the great true God. When the true God descends to the 9 states, his first target would be the spiritual state. Ha ha, you're dead for sure, dead for sure. Those fake gods are going to descend upon the 9 regions? Lin Chen's expression was somewhat grave. This news had truly shocked him. If what Han Qixiao said was true, then wouldn't there be even more secret societies working for the fake gods in the future? Most importantly, even if the fake god was severely injured, he was still a saint. How could he stop these saint-level experts? TSK. His battle aura tore apart as Han Qixiao attempted to self-detonate. Rip. Lin Chen swung his saber and chopped off his head. His battle chi and fate wheel were shattered. He had completely died. It dropped a large number of attribute light balls. When Han Qixiao fell, an orange light suddenly bloomed in the void. A treasure chest inlaid with orange crystal jades floated in the void. An orange crystal treasure chest? Lin Chen's eyes lit up as he grabbed the orange crystal treasure chest. Host has opened the orange crystal treasure chest. Orange one-time talent fragment obtained. Sun God, 3/3. It has been automatically combined into a complete talent. Please check. Sun God talent. Lin Chen's second orange talent was born. I'll collect the God Slayer. With 2 orange talents, they might be my last trump card against those fake gods. Lin Chen took the attribute light balls in front of him. Apart from Han Qixiao, there was also an orange crystal treasure chest. The center of the explosion of the 9 tribulations star was a 1,000-mile-wide crater. It looked as if it was caused by some natural disaster that fell from the heavens and earth. It was a chilling sight. Lin Chen rushed to the center of the explosion and used his movement technique. As he took the attribute light balls, he reached out and opened the second orange crystal treasure chest. Host has opened the orange crystal treasure chest. Obtained 23 million mid-grade cultivation technique soul essences. A large number of attribute light balls emerged from the orange crystal treasure chest and entered Lin Chen's glabella. He was both happy and worried. It's actually a cultivation technique soul essence. Damn it, wouldn't it be over if I had a God Slayer fragment? Lin Chen lacked almost everything. He lacked both the cultivation technique soul essences and the God Slayer talent fragment. When he looked around again, the Serene Fiend Hall's patriarch and Fang Rulong had already escaped. From today onwards, the Blood State's 5 Halls and Cloud State's Dark Alliance would cease to exist. After losing these top combat forces, the remaining experts would not be able to achieve anything. It would be almost impossible for them to regain their previous achievements. He put away the azure bright moon and absorbed the Dragon Emperor into his body. The attribute value he gained this time was extremely high. It was comparable to the time when he fought against the 7 major dragon races. Especially the mid-grade battle aura essence, he gained 3 billion points. It was more than double the original value. The 9 elemental attributes increased by an average of 200,000 points. His spirit increased by 40,000 points. His talent points, heavenly path points, and cultivation technique soul essences all increased by more than 20 million points. As soon as Lin Chen removed the 7-fold transformation, a large number of battle aura essences surged into the 6 9-colored battle aura fate wheels. The 7th fate wheel was born. Rumble. The 9 types of heavenly calamity battle bodies exploded like a thunderstorm and surged out from Lin Chen's body. His cultivation base increased by leaps and bounds. Congratulations to the host for advancing to the 7th level Combat Emperor. 7th level Combat Emperor. The current Lin Chen had entered the ranks of the top experts in the 9 states just by relying on his cultivation base alone. He broke through 2 levels in a row. The unstoppable battle aura fluctuation slowly stopped at a certain point. It did not break through to the 7th level intermediate stage. The reason was that every bottleneck was too strong. The 7th, 8th, and 9th level combat emperors were all extremely difficult to break through. Due to the 5-blow thunderstruck sure kill skill, most of the storage rings of the powerhouses had been blasted into smithereens and turned into elemental balls of light. Only the storage rings of the 5 patriarchs were perfectly preserved. Sure enough, it's still here. Lin Chen erased the 5 patriarchs' spiritual imprints on the storage rings. His eyes lit up when he saw the many treasures in the storage rings, including the 2 mid-grade and mid-grade purple-tier pill refinement hand seals, top-grade purple-tier mental cultivation method, battle skills, pill recipes, and the top-grade mid-grade 7th tier 9 revolutions underworld dragon pill and extreme brilliance pill. There were all kinds of top-grade treasures. Almost all the wealth of the 5 great families were in there. Your Excellency Lin Chen, I didn't expect you to be that mysterious expert. Today, my Ling family has broadened our horizons. The Ling family's patriarch, Ling Mo, clasped his fists at Lin Chen. He was amazed and full of admiration. From the dark meeting to the chaotic battle in the Blood Province, everything that had happened to Lin Chen could be described as legendary. Not to mention guessing, he could achieve heaven-defying things that others did not even dare to think about. Ling family's patriarch is too courteous. I don't like to talk nonsense. Since you've made a move, this is your reward. With a flick of his finger, Lin Chen passed the purple crystal bullet with the blazing flame soaring sky technique sealed within to the Ling family. Ling Mo hurriedly caught it. He was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. Was this guy careless, or did he not care? This was one of the few purple-rank mental cultivation methods in the 9 states. If there was a chance, it could scare people to death. Chapter 726. If it weren't for the Ling family, he might not have been able to kill all 3 of them. If any of the 5 ancestral patriarchs escaped, they would be a great threat to the spiritual state. A late-stage Tier 9 ancestral patriarch was already a top-notch master in the 9 states. Even someone as strong as Lin Chen could only rely on sneak attacks to defeat someone at the late stage of the 9th stage if he didn't have a sure kill skill. If the 3 of them split up and ran, it was possible for them to escape. Are you really Lin Chen? Ling Ruxue, whose battle chi had been unsealed by Ling Mo, walked up to Lin Chen and asked dreamily. Of course. Have you seen anyone more handsome than me in the 9 states? Lin Chen chuckled and waved his hand casually. Suddenly, Ling Rushua pursed her lips and looked at Lin Chen expectantly. Then, Prince Lin Chen, can I hug you? Lin Chen was dumbfounded. He had been flirting with girls for 30 years, and this was the first time he had met such a proactive girl. Ling Mo facepalmed. This daughter of his was really outside the 9 states, in the endless starry sky. There was a broken planet and an independent dimension on a small continental plate. All the living beings who were meditating in seclusion opened their eyes at the same time, as if their hearts were connected. Dead? All the relatives we nurtured are dead? Impossible. Who has the strength to kill them all at the same time? Could it be that kid? Lin Chen. Damn wild dog. A mere mortal dares to disturb us. Wait until I descend to the spiritual state and kill this kid. In less than 3 months, we will be able to refine all the energy from the Earth's core and descend to the spiritual state. Kill him! Kill him! Endless roars echoed in the starry sky. Weeping blood plain. Lin Chen didn't give Ling Rushua time to make a choice. A ray of light bloomed in his arms without warning, and the light pillar shot into the sky with an earth-shattering aura. A faintly discernible sense of danger enveloped Lin Chen. His pupils trembled as he stared intently at the figure within the light pillar. Within the pillar of light, the peerlessly beautiful woman's long dress fluttered like clouds and smoke. Nothing could be more beautiful than this. A snow-white flame mark constantly flickered between her eyebrows, making her look even more noble and holy, like a fairy that had descended from the heavens. The snow-white fire seal between her snow-white eyebrows flowed like ripples of fire. The ripples flickered in the void, as if it contained a hidden world. Sister Ruoyan? What's going on? Lin Chen sucked in a cold breath. Bai Ruoyan was still at the peak early stage Tier 9, but the pressure she exuded was stronger than any of the patriarchs of the fake god family. Could it be that orange-level cultivation est? Lin Chen was teased to sister sisters tssss. Sister, S's to comprehends to comt to tt tes in a starry sky far away from the 9 prefectures, a star field rotated like a wheel, and every star contained a world. In the center of the star field, there was an indescribably majestic continental plate, surrounded by a magical enchantment, where endless human civilization rose. Sacred boundary. In the south of the sacred boundary, endless divine flames burned into a sea of fire, and a waterfall-like river of fire flowed in the sea of fire. The river of fire was like a heavenly cloud, intertwining and constantly changing colors. Every color was a flame that could destroy heaven and earth. They were like 2 flying dragons that reached the 9 heavens. The most mysterious thing was that in the sea of fire, there was a vast and majestic red palace. It looked as if it was made of crystal jade, and it was magnificent. It was a miracle of a civilization with the aura of gods. In the red palace, a beautiful figure wearing a red veil and a red robe slowly opened her beautiful eyes, and there was a trace of surprise and amazement. Someone in the mortal realm actually cultivated my Divine Flame Palaces, Divine Flame Heart Sutra, and even completed it? The red-robed beautiful figure's beautiful eyes were flowing with faint flames, as if she could see through time and space. Her gaze was deep, and after staring for a long time, she finally withdrew her gaze. I see. The mortal realm's 9 prefectures, continent, huh? Interesting. They actually controlled the eternal, sacred flame, weeping blood plane. Bai Ruoyan slowly floated down and opened her beautiful eyes. Lin Chen hurriedly went up to her and held her soft hand, secretly transmitting his voice. How is it? Are you all right? In the 9 prefectures, no one knew what the consequences of cultivating orange-ranked mental cultivation technique would be. Even if Bai Ruoyan was perfectly compatible with the Divine Flame Heart Sutra, Lin Chen was still worried about the side effects. And I'm fine. It's just that I comprehended the foundation of this Divine Flame Heart Sutra's foundation. This mental cultivation technique is indeed tailor-made for me. Just by cultivating it to Divine Flame Heart Sutra's foundation, my strength has soared by more than 10 times. Bai Ruoyan smiled sweetly. 10 times. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth trembled a few times. Without using the sacred flame, Bai Ruoyan could match most of the intermediate 9th-level combat emperors with her full strength. Now that her strength had increased by 10 times, wouldn't it mean that an early 9th-level combat emperor could easily defeat an advanced 9th-level combat emperor? Perhaps, even the false god family's patriarch who activated his sacred body might not be her match. Orange-ranked mental cultivation technique is indeed abnormal. She's only at Divine Flame Heart Sutra's foundation. Lin Chen clicked his tongue in wonder. In his heart, he was looking forward to the Tai Futian skill. Bai Ruoyan's beautiful eyes were smiling, but there was a trace of worry. She didn't tell Lin Chen that because she cultivated the Divine Flame Heart Sutra, the eternal sacred flame in her body seemed to have turned on some kind of switch. The sacred flame's energy was growing faster and faster, and the speed of refining and producing battle chi was also increasing rapidly. According to this speed, in less than half a month, Bai Ruoyan would advance to the intermediate 9th-level combat emperor's foundation even if she didn't cultivate on her own. In the 9th-level combat emperor's foundation, every advancement was breaking through the bottleneck of life. There were many combat emperors who were stuck in a small level and couldn't break through until they died. Bai Ruoyan's breakthrough speed was completely out of the ordinary. Not long from now, the eternal sacred flame would overflow more and more energy that would exceed her control. When Ling Ruxue saw that Lin Chen had a fairy-like person beside him, she lowered her head and didn't dare to mention her previous request. However, Lin Chen smiled and walked in front of her. Under her astonished gaze, he generously gave her a hug. "I'm very happy to meet everyone from the Ling family, and you too, Miss Ling family. It's just that I don't have time this time. Next time, I'll pay a visit to your Ling family." Lin Chen grinned. Ling Ruxue smiled charmingly. "That's good. Next time, I want to exchange pointers with you." "Lin Chen, what do you plan to do after this? You killed a member of a true god family. The true god behind you will definitely not let you go. If there's anything my Ling family can help you with, we won't hesitate. Our mission this time isn't worthy of the great gift you've given us," Ling Mo asked worriedly. In fact, in the entire 9 prefectures, only an extremely small number of forces knew about the history of the 100 Saints. Almost everyone had been brainwashed by the fake god's concealment of history. They believed that only the true god was the creator of the 9 prefectures. Chapter 727. It's okay. I'm going to the Sky Tower next. Lin Chen smiled and didn't tell Ling Mo the secret of the fake god. Lin Chen said goodbye to the Ling family. They were on good terms, and the Ling family wanted to open up the space tunnel to the spiritual state and cooperate with the Heavenly Song Academy. Activating the super-dimensional teleportation, Lin Chen teleported to the True God Mountain of the Godly Land. Easternmost Godly Land, Hun family's territory, True God Mountain. The space light beam broke open and Lin Chen arrived. He looked around while floating in the air. The current Hun family had long been abandoned by the Hun family. The believers of the fake god still rebuilt True God Mountain and worshipped it every day. Tens of thousands of fake god believers stationed at True God Mountain exclaimed when they saw Lin Chen. "Huh? Who's that? It looks like Lin Chen. He's here again? Damn you, Lin Chen. How can you go against the true God? You'll go to hell. It's you who made us suffer so much. Without the protection of the true God, do you know what kind of destruction our home has been through? Lin Chen of the spiritual state. You should be torn into pieces and die a horrible death. The dignity of the true God is not to be blasphemed. The true God's will eliminate you. Countless fake God believers were furious, but no one dared to step forward. They blamed Lin Chen for all the sufferings of the fake God families after the disbandment of the true God family. Lin Chen looked down at the crowd. More and more fake God believers gathered at his feet. More and more fake God believers gathered in the Han family's territory. Lin Chen faced the millions, tens of millions, and almost 100 million people. He shouted, "There are no gods in the Jiuzhou continent. There were no gods in the Jiuzhou continent." This sentence was sonorous and forceful, resolute and decisive. The young man's roar was mixed with a powerful battle chi and a vast and boundless spiritual power. His voice spread across millions of miles. It was like the angry roar of a giant dragon that had been sleeping for thousands of years. It was awakened. Lin Chen flew away in front of hundreds of millions of fake God believers, and no one dared to stop him. He believed that as long as he was still alive, as long as he could destroy the fake God, he would be able to uncover the blank history of the 9 prefectures one day. At that time, there would be no more demons and monsters in the 9 regions. The history of this prosperous era would be as the predecessors wished. Firmament Tower, in a certain attic. A green-robed figure stood with his hands behind his back. He stared at the far east and shook his head in amazement. What a godly person! He dared to refuse the request of the messenger of the sacred boundary at such a young age and live and die with the 9 regions. If every man in the 9 regions could have such courage and righteousness, a group of scoundrels who only dare to hide in the dark would never be able to erode this beautiful continent. When he arrived at the Firmament Tower again, Lin Chen activated his golden eyes twin life and looked up at the entire tower. He still couldn't see anything special. It was like an eternal object standing between heaven and earth, as if it had been born to create heaven and earth. The Firmament Tower is not an ordinary sacred tool. With Lin Chen's current vision, he could feel that the Firmament Tower was not ordinary. It might be an extremely powerful sacred tool, or maybe even stronger. It is said that the Firmament Tower's owner is the most mysterious expert in the 9 regions. I wonder if I have the chance to meet him during this operation. Lin Chen and Bai Ruoyan entered the Firmament Tower again. Firmament Tower, Main City Number 1. Lin Chen didn't go to Main City Number 10 immediately to find the location of the Demon Eye. Instead, he went to the Treasury Palace in the main city. Because this time, he wanted to sell something. In the war, the fake God family, the 5 palaces, and the Dark Society almost didn't have any weapons left. All of them were destroyed in the battle, leaving only the storage ring of the fake God family. The vice principal had personally instructed that those who didn't have the strength of a late 9th layer combat emperor were not allowed to get close to the Demon Eye. Therefore, he had to stop for a while to accumulate strength and digest the resources on hand. Lin Chen had 2 complete top low-grade purple rank combat skills and 2 top low-grade combat skills. Except for the 7-star sword art, he needed to cultivate. If he dissected the others, he might be able to obtain a batch of high-grade combat skill essences or use them to fuse combat skills. But no matter how he used them in the system, they weren't what Lin Chen needed the most. He didn't lack offensive, defensive, or movement skills. Needless to say, mental cultivation method. No matter how many combat skills he learned, if his foundation wasn't strong enough, he would only be a weakling. What he needed was to increase his cultivation base and attribute value. The most direct way was to increase his battle chi essence and intermediate elemental attribute value. Increasing the 9 heavenly calamity battle bodies and increasing the power of mental cultivation methods was to increase his overall strength. The elemental attribute value was very important. Previously, when Lin Chen used the God Slayer talent, he could reach the early 9th layer. At that time, his elemental attribute value was less than 200,000 points on average. Now, His elemental attribute value was more than 900,000 points on average. If he advanced to the early 9th layer, his strength would be vastly different from when he was in the God Slayer state. At the back of the treasure depository palace, more than 10 stationed elders gathered. Even the mayor of the first main city was alerted. Middle low-grade purple rank elixir refining handprint, 1000 heaven technique, 1 top low-grade purple rank combat skill, 2 complete top low-grade purple rank mental cultivation methods, and 1 top middle-grade 7th level elixir pill. The city lord of the first main city personally went through all the items for sale for Linchen. Every single treasure made the elders who were stationed in the main city suck in a cold breath. He even sold 2 top low-grade purple rank mental cultivation methods? That was crazy. According to the tower's estimation, the total price is 99.5 million firmament dollars. The fat, middle-aged mayor asked Linchen cautiously, "Your Excellency Linchen, are you sure you want to sell these treasures to the firmament tower? Once you confirm, you can't go back on your words." This was a serious matter. The mayor had to confirm it 3 times because this was an unprecedented transaction. Currently, there was only 1 top low-grade purple rank mental cultivation method left on the firmament tower's list, and it was sold for close to 30 million firmament dollars. Now, someone was selling 2 top low-grade purple rank elixir refining handprint? This was unthinkable. "I'm sure." Linchen spoke cheerfully, not minding it at all. The mayor took a deep breath and waved his hand to inform the elder. After a while, the elder handed over a storage ring with trembling hands. "Here are 99.5 million firmament dollars. Please count them." Linchen took the storage ring and infused his battle chi into it. The firmament dollars piled up like a mountain. It was close to 100 million firmament dollars. "No problem." Linchen stood up and the mayor personally sent him off. 2 hours later, a magnitude 12 earthquake occurred in the 10 main cities. There were 2 new top low-grade purple rank mental cultivation method, 1 top low-grade purple rank combat skill, 1 middle-grade purple rank elixir refining handprint, and 1 top low-grade rank 7 elixir refining 9 transformation dragon elixir. The top experts of the 10 main cities all came out one after another for this. However, Linchen, who created this storm, had already left for the secret territory hall in main city number 1. The Firmament Tower had one of the best secret territories in the entire Jiuzhou. It was the motivation for all the combat emperors to enter the tower. Linchen exchanged all his top low-grade treasures for firmament dollars. He could even enter the blue and purple rank secret territories that countless combat emperors dreamed of. His attribute points could still reach an even higher value. In the secret territory hall, Linchen flipped through the prices of the trial tokens. Green trial token price 100,000 firmament dollars. Blue trial token price 500,000 firmament dollars. Top low-grade trial token price 1 million firmament dollars. Purple trial token price 5 million firmament dollars. There were very few trial territories above the purple rank. There were only 5 of them and 2 of them were top low-grade. After flipping to the end, Linchen's gaze fell on the last 2 columns. Top low-grade trial token price 10 million firmament dollars. Orange trial token price 50 million firmament dollars. Chapter 728. Orange Rank Trial Realm. It was said that only 3 people had entered it in history, and there was only 1 Orange Rank Trial Realm in the entire Firmament Tower. Interesting. Let's go to all the top secret realms. Linchen bought 3 purple rank trial tokens, 2 top purple rank trial tokens, 1 orange rank trial token, and 10 top blue rank trial tokens. He had spent a total of 95 million firmament dollars, which was more than 90% of it. The green rank trial realm was suitable for low-level combat emperors, while the blue-rank trial realm was suitable for high-level combat emperors. As for the top blue-rank trial realm, one had to be at least a top combat emperor to enter. With his current cultivation level of initial rank 7, normal secret realms were not effective. Lin Chen estimated that only the top blue-rank trial realm and above would be effective. The top blue-rank trial realm, Heaven Flame Secret Realm. Lin Chen turned into a stream of light and arrived at the secret realm. The secret realm was filled with green and white flames. Green and white fire dragons that were several feet long were roaming in the air, and they contained dense fire elemental spiritual qi. The temperature here was comparable to the hell volcano of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan. Those who were proficient in fire elemental skills did not even need to circulate their heart sutras, as the dense fire elemental spiritual qi would automatically enter their body. In Lin Chen's eyes, there were red attribute light balls everywhere, be it the air or the ground. All of them were intermediate fire elemental attribute points. After entering the secret realm, Lin Chen's battle qi of the Fire Calamity Constitution automatically circulated and absorbed the dense fire elemental spiritual qi. Received 1,450 fire elemental energy, 1,490 fire elemental energy, 1,200 fire elemental energy, 2 million battle qi essence. Lin Chen activated his phantom doppelganger to collect the attribute light balls for himself. This is a good place for seclusion. I will be able to collect all the attribute light balls in less than 2 days. Lin Chen sat cross-legged in the air. He flipped his palm and a jade bottle appeared. Inside the bottle was a pill that was shining with white light. It was very mysterious. This was the Aurora pill, which was obtained by the experts of the 5 palaces when they were bidding for an avatar. It was refined from the essence of the 9 heavens sunlight and 4 top-notch 7th-rank light-type direbeast cores. Lin Chen swallowed the Aurora pill in one go. A dazzling light rose up in his body like a sun, and the light attribute energy surged into his body. Obtained 2,200 points of light energy, 1,800 points of light energy, 2,500 points of light energy, 3,000 points of light energy, 29. 9 million battle qi essences. Lin Chen's light attribute value soared as he refined the chaotic light attribute essence in his body. His battle qi cultivation was also increasing at a steady pace. As Lin Chen's attributes continued to rise, the turbulence in the 9 prefectures became even more chaotic. The descent of a true god caused the entire world to celebrate. Countless experts and believers of God were cheering, but undercurrents were surging behind their backs. 20 days after Lin Chen entered the Firmament Tower, the 9 prefectures held their first primordial assembly. Most of the ancient families and hidden experts of the 9 prefectures had gathered in the Divine Prefecture. It was all for the sake of discussing the descent of the true God ceremony. The Divine Prefecture, the Void Platform. Located in the southernmost part of the Divine Prefecture, there was a spatial plane 100,000 feet above the void. Hundreds and thousands of figures had gathered here. These figures were at least 8th-level combat emperors and above. Among them, there were many experts from the Firmament Tower. Although some of the experts were not present, they were paying attention to the contents of the assembly with their spiritual consciousness. In the south of the spiritual platform, Shen Lianyun and Xing Zhan led the experts of the Spiritual State Alliance to sit on one side. They were biding their time and listening to the contents of the assembly. In the east of the spiritual platform, an old man in a green robe with a sword on his back frowned as he spoke. Everyone has heard about the descent of a true God. Let's be frank. If this so-called true God descends, we will have no place to live. Previously, the energy of the earth core of the Divine Prefecture was sent flying all over the 9 prefectures by His Excellency Lin Chen of the Spiritual State. This is the most obvious result. F***ck your bullshit. A red-haired old man from the Divine Prefecture stood up angrily. When the true God descends, the 9 prefectures will have the protection of the gods. We will reach a new peak and create a new civilization. How can there be no place to live? I think you are just ambitious and are afraid that the descent of the true God will threaten your ambitions. The Thunder Emperor of the heavenly states spat and slammed the table as he cursed. How many people know about the ancient battle of the 100 saints? The ones who defended the 9 prefectures were not the gods, but the countless sages of the 9 prefectures. There are no gods in the 9 prefectures. Those are just a bunch of old foxes. 2 indifferent middle-aged men who were sitting with swords in their arms didn't hide their murderous intent at all as they spoke coldly. Watch your mouth. Thunder Emperor, if you dare to insult the true God again, I don't mind ripping your mouth apart with my sword right now. The so-called 100 saints of the ancient era is just a fabricated lie. What do you have to prove that they really contributed to the 9 prefectures? They are just some losers who tried to fight against the true God. They just want to leave behind their dying wills to blaspheme the true God. Whoever dares to insult the great true God will have to ask this old man's scythe first. The black-robed old man with a giant scythe on his shoulder glanced around the hall. His early-stage level 9 aura leaked out, and his murderous intent was violent. The gods created history and living beings, but you don't know how to repay them. You don't know how to bestow favors and even try to go against the will of the gods. How stupid! Another beautiful woman in a moon robe at the mid-stage of level 9 sneered. In this primeval conference, almost 80% of the ancient forces were leaning toward the true God. You? The Thunder Emperor's veins bulged, and his hair stood up in anger. Finally, Shen Lianyun, who had been silent for a long time, raised her hand slightly. Thunder Emperor, don't be angry. Let's not talk about the stupid ones for now. We can never wake up those who are pretending to be asleep. Our sages fought for us to continue being human. If some people want to be dogs, then let them be. The Heavenly Song Academy of the Spirit State is very arrogant. I heard that you are the first to go against the will of the great true God. The 2 gray-robed swordsmen revealed their sharpness with murderous intents. The Sword Emperor is a dog for a fake god. You have lived for 100,000 years in vain. What a bunch of trash! The elixir masters of the elixir state couldn't help but scold them. They sided with the Heavenly Song Academy of the Spirit State. The old farts of the elixir state. Many masters narrowed their eyes, revealing a bit of fear. There is nothing to talk about. We would rather die standing than live kneeling. Shen Lianyun was the first to stand up and leave, and the Thunder Emperor followed closely behind. This primeval conference was like a crossbow. Although they didn't fight, they only lacked a fuse. After this primeval conference, the world was divided into 2 factions. One side resisted the true gods, but most chose to accept the blessings of the true gods. In the 9 states, those who knew the truth and still had integrity began to approach the Heavenly Song Academy of the Spirit State. They began to open up space channels, ready to fight together at any time. Although not many top masters knew the truth, there were still a lot of them. But why were there so many masters siding with the true gods in this primeval conference? It was because even if they gathered the forces of the 9 states, they would hardly be a match for the 6 true gods. Instead of fighting a battle that they had no chance of winning, it was better to become a part of the true gods and obtain the fortune to become like the ancestors of the 6 true god families, possessing the saint body. After all, they were all smart people who had lived for 100,000 years. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.